Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for February 28th, 2023?
Move to approve the agenda, please. I should turn on my microphone.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of the governing board for February 14th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting of the governing board for February 21st?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Now we move on to the fun part of the evening, the Artistic Achievement Award. Mr. Clement.
All right, good evening, everyone. We're super excited this evening to award some students and recognize their artistic achievement. And an achievement I really was never probably put up for. I was kind of a stick figure guy and was not really artistic in that way. So I really admire you all for having that artistic ability. So I'm going to have everyone that's receiving an award, if you want to come up here and bring your award with you and turn and face the audience. And then if you are online, I know we have one participant from James Foster Elementary. If you could use the raise your hand feature in Zoom, and Mr. Heinlein will pull you in so we can see you on the screen. So if you are online and you are here for awards, I see your name there. Yep, perfect. And then everyone else has joined us up front. They're already showing their awards and making the perfect line, just like we practiced, even though we didn't. So that's great and amazing. All right, and we will get started. When I do say your name, if you'd like to step forward so we can recognize you individually, and then I'll read a little bit about you from your school and we'll clap for you, and then you can step back and be in line, and we'll go on to the next person. Okay, so we will start from Bridgeport Elementary. We have Kirat Sandhu in kindergarten. Kirat is always willing to take a risk and try different art forms. Whether she is working on a portrait or having to go for an abstract art lesson, she always tries her best and puts her personality into her art. Kirat's art future is bright, and we all look forward to more exciting artwork from Kirat. Congratulations. From Cedar Creek, we have Eileen Flores in 6th grade. Eileen is a hardworking scholar who exhibits fine artistic talent. When she creates art, she does it with such ease and grace. In addition to her artistic talent, she's a good friend to her classmates. She's empathetic and kind, and we're so lucky to have Eileen as part of the Cedar Creek family. Congratulations. From Emblem Academy, we have Madhu Algian in 2nd grade. Madhu is a gifted artist. He draws cars, people, building, and has above 2nd grade skills in that area. Congratulations, Madhu. All right, our next participant is our participant on the TV screen online there. So we're going to recognize Allie Carter from James Foster in 5th grade. Allie is a very talented artist. She continues to amaze our class with her art projects. Allie is willing to share her talent by helping her classmates and by trying to organize an art class at lunch where she could teach shading. In addition, she created beautiful falcon charts for our class, and the other upper grade classes use that for tracking their iReady lessons passed. She gets a little bonus for that from me. She excels in her Meet the Masters art projects, as well as in her own creative art drawings, and is very deserving of this award. Congratulations, Allie. From Charles Helmers Elementary, we have Hazel Guzman in 2nd grade. Hazel shows excellence in all of her artwork and drawings. She is a self-learned artist and takes her talent to the next level. Hazel said she was inspired from artists on art channels that she would be watching. She would challenge herself to level up by adding her own characteristics to make her artwork unique. Hazel also shares her talents with her classmates by showing and teaching them her techniques. She helps them to see that they too are amazing artists. Congratulations, Hazel. Okay, from Highlands Elementary, we have Rain Belzer in 6th grade. Rain is an exceptionally creative individual in all aspects of her education. She is a talented artist who always applies her unique signature to any creative expression. One second. Rain will be continued. There you are, Rain. Rain certainly deserves to be acknowledged for her amazing artistic achievement. Sorry for the pause, Rain. Congratulations. All right, from Mountain View, we have Chloe Wu in 5th grade. Chloe has a creative mind through and through. She is meticulous in everything she does, with an eye for detail. For Lunar New Year this year, Chloe taught her class the Mandarin Chinese alphabet, and the students were able to write their names in Chinese. It was fun seeing her be able to share her culture in an artistic way with her peers. Chloe is also a phenomenal artist, with her passion being anime. Not only is she extremely talented in the drawing of anime characters, but she is skilled in coloring and shading as well. The class loves to celebrate her artwork because she is so humble about her accomplishments. Chloe is also so deserving of this award. Congratulations, Chloe. All right, from North Park, we have Courtney Hull in 6th grade. Courtney is the designer of the North Park yearbook cover this year and won the Pinewood Derby races last year for her car, both in design and in speed. She has many artistic gifts and motivates and inspires other students with her attention to detail in her artwork. She continues to shine in the area of art and shows great effort and creativity. Congratulations, Courtney. All right, from Plum Canyon, we have Madera Graham Dixon in 5th grade. All right, Madera in person is full of life, both in person and on paper. Her creative writing always has a clear voice and leaves you immersed in the story. She works hard to bring energy to the classroom with her creativity and imagination. For example, she uses voices as she reads and performs with charisma during drama and illustrates her thinking using metaphors and similes. Moreover, Madera takes the time to work on her drawing skills and recognizes styles and emotions in art pieces. Lastly, she comes up with creative solutions to problems and thinks outside of the box, making connections to things beyond the classroom. Overall, her imagination and mind brings life to her art, writing, and whichever room she is in. She is truly a plum artist. Congratulations. All right, from Rio Vista, we have Cesar Hernandez in 5th grade. Cesar impresses anyone of all ages with his art. He has already mastered still life, shading, and lettering with a little guidance from others. Cesar has used his art to add pictures to his notes. He shares his supplies and tips with friends, and he is considering pursuing the arts as a career choice. With his skills, there is no doubt from his teacher or his peers that he can achieve any artistic endeavor. Congratulations. All right, from West Creek Academy, we have Sahil Das in 2nd grade. Sahil is a 2nd grader at West Creek Academy who shines in creativity and artistic talent by going above and beyond in his art projects. His creative mind is reflected in how he impresses himself artistically in his classwork and in his Meet the Masters lessons. His art demonstrates emotions and tells a story as he uses details and various media. Congratulations. From Rosedale, we have Andy Benuelos in 5th grade. Andy has a natural talent and passion for art. He has strong drawing skills and applies his knowledge, creativity, and imagination to his artwork. He also takes the time to act as a guide and provides help to his peers. His confidence in his ability and enthusiasm for art was beautifully displayed when he modeled a step-by-step lesson for his classmates in December. Congratulations. From Santa Clarita Elementary, we have Lily Posada in 6th grade. Lily is an extremely gifted artist and produces incredible work in all artistic areas. Not only is she incredibly creative and talented, but Lily also consistently works hard to go above and beyond on her projects and assignments. Lily's hard work and expectation with her artistic ability makes her a very deserving person for this award. Your Bulldog family is extremely proud of you. Lily, keep on shining. From Sky Blue Mesa, we have Cedric Strong in 6th grade. In every artistic project he completes, Cedric adds his own distinctive style. His realistic art includes shading and perspective. His abstract art demonstrates Cedric's natural talent in focusing on details. All of the students in his classroom admire Cedric's artwork. Congratulations. From Tesoro del Valle, we have Annabelle Haley in kindergarten. Annabelle expresses herself in artistic detail far beyond her age and has an eye for color that brings her artwork to life. She takes whatever she's taught in art and thinks beyond the assignment. She clearly enjoys using her already advanced artistic talent to add even more to all her work. Annabelle is also amazing at teaching others. She proudly and patiently instructs her peers that admire her work on how they can make their pictures come to life as well. Congratulations. All right, we want to congratulate you. And before you go sit down, do we want to do pictures or do you want to have the board make comments first? Do pictures first? Okay. So I'll stand up and get behind you here and stand, and we'll have a chance for parents to come on up and get that photo and take pictures. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and let you have a seat. If you want to go back and sit with your parents. Allie, if you want to hang out with us still online, our board members are going to say a few words before you go. So hang out and stay online with us, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Grease.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am personally just really excited about this award. I think being artistic and creative gives students a different perspective on how they approach projects and tasks and situations that maybe some students may not have. So I'm incredibly proud and keep up the good work. It'll only help you guys as you move forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Love.
I echo everything Ms. Grease just said. I heard a lot of different wonderful things about all of you and different artistic abilities as well. A lot of drawing, some multimedia, someone made a boxcar or a derby car rather, creative writing. So there are a ton of ways to be artistic, as you all know, and it's really nice to have all of those recognized tonight and to see all your smiling faces. Congratulations. We're so proud of you.
Thank you, Mr. Coker.
Like Mr. Clement, my artistic talent, I think, doesn't extend beyond stick figures. So I have always admired people who are very artistic. And so congratulations and my admiration to all of you award winners tonight. And thank you for all of the great creativity that you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Watson.
Well, we heard a lot about your talent tonight, but we also heard a lot about your hard work, your dedication, the challenges that you take on, the passion that you have for your art, the skills that you've developed, the time that you take, and how you've learned from others and even in some cases taught others. Both of my kids are fantastic artists, and I do say that humbly, but I know I'm dad. But I think Caesar mentioned, or they said that Caesar was planning on making a career out of art. My oldest daughter is making a phenomenal career out of her art. My kids were born with talent, but they took thousands and thousands and thousands of hours to develop it, just like we do in anything that we develop, our math, public speaking, anything like that. So I just want to congratulate you, yes, on your remarkable talent, but the hard work that you put in to your art. So congratulations.
Thank you. So congratulations to all of you. It's a nice award to get because art makes the world a more beautiful, makes it easier to bear sometimes. I also very much appreciated several times that I heard you were teaching others your art. And so what a wonderful thing to share that gift. I would also now like to offer to the cabinet. They always have very nice things to say to you after you've gone. So to let them each say their little piece right now so you can hear it. Mrs. Berry.
I want to first congratulate the award nominees tonight. I was going to say the same thing, that not only did I hear what fantastic artists you are, I actually got to see some of the artwork that you've produced. But what I heard over and over again is that you had that passion for it, but you also share that with others and teach others how to become better artists. I probably could use some lessons from all of you. So that was something that I thought was amazing. And again, as Mr. Watson said, not only do you have that natural born talent that people have noticed in you, but the hard work and dedication that you have to develop that. So keep going, don't give up, and it's only going to get better. Thank you for sharing your art with us.
Thank you. Mr. Clement.
And I did already get to share, but I will add when reading them all again and hearing how you are patient with others and teach others, the stick figure drawers of the world appreciate you. So continue that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stevenson.
Right. Congratulations to all of our nominees. I, like many people up here, I'm not a very talented artist, but my daughter is, and so is my father, and they are both also very good in math. So those two are really connected. Congratulations, and keep up all of the hard work and the dedication.
Thank you. Mr. Heinlein.
Congratulations again this evening. I'm good at math, but I'm not a good artist, so I don't know what happened there. But I am really excited if we can get at least
one piece of artwork from
See,
all
you
these
stole my
students.
one thing I was gonna say.
This building has so many blank walls, and I think we would cherish to have a piece of artwork
Is it
from each
okay if
one
I,
of these
if I
students.
join in on that? So my piece was to be congratulatory to all of the students and thank you to all of the families for being here. I think one of my favorite parts of the evening is watching all of your smiling faces as you're admiring the status of your student and your child and your family members, even for the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles, everybody. That to me is always the fun part. But anybody who's toured a school with me, whether it's a principal or a board member or a cabinet member, they know that I always go into the classrooms and I scout the walls for artwork. Because as Mr. Heinlein said, we just redid all the pictures in the back. Those are all pictures of students within the district. We're in the process of putting together a lot of student artwork because we have a lot of white blank walls all throughout the hallways in here, and you kind of get lost like you're in a little maze, and we want to make it fantastic. So I was going to ask if each of you that got the award could pick out a piece that you wouldn't mind giving to us and give it to your principal, and they'll send it in and we'll be able to frame it and put it throughout the district office with some of the ones that I've collected along the way. Always seems like I'm out in the winter time, and so I have lots of snowmen and things. So I'm looking for things like sunflowers and fun stuff too. But thank you very much, because it is a very fun thing to do in school, but it also helps you learn a tremendous amount. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take a break so that you can all take pictures. And we will resume. Thank you all again for coming out. Okay, let's get the meeting started. Let's get it started. Okay, meeting is back in order at 7 o'clock. Now we will proceed with public comments. Advance written requests to address the board regarding agenda and non-agenda items. Board bylaws 9320, 9322, and 9323 each speak to the process used by the governing board to allow for public comment during its meetings that is in compliance with the Brown Act and other applicable law. Board bylaw 9323 specifically outlines the process for members of the public to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items that are within its subject matter jurisdiction. Members of the public wishing to address the governing board are asked to do the following prior to the start of the public comment section of the meeting agenda to ensure that appropriate time is allotted to all interested speakers and topics. The speaker should either complete a speaker card for each item they desire to speak on or notify the assistant to the superintendent of each item. This notification is requested to allow the board president to consistently implement public comment guidelines provided in board bylaw 9323. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes per topic for public comment. The time allotted for each topic is 20 minutes. Depending on the number of persons wishing to be heard on a single topic may require the governing board to adjust the times allotted for each speaker or the total time allotted to the topic or issue. The president of the board may take a poll of speakers for and against the topic or issue to determine how best to allot time to each speaker and on each topic. Members of the public may also submit written comments to be included in the meeting minutes and distributed to the governing board members prior to the meetings by sending an email to the assistant to the superintendent, Pamela Dahl, pdahl@saugususd.org by 4:30 p.m. on the day of the scheduled meeting. Please remember that state law prevents the board from acting on any matter not listed on the agenda or from discussing any such matter in detail. So we have a total of 11 speakers, which would be 33 minutes. Some of them don't have topics, so if you guys are all okay with 33 minutes. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna call up 3 speakers so that we'll have people ready on deck. Our first speaker will be Diane Zimmerman, followed by Cindy, Jay, and Nancy.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Thank you for letting me speak. And it was a beautiful ceremony at the beginning. I would like to personally, and on behalf of many of my friends and neighbors and people all over this valley, thank board member Anna Grease in behalf of every parent I've spoken to on both sides, all sides of the political aisle or whatever we call these days. She's very clearly standing up for all children and parents of not only her district, but the children and parents of all districts in the Santa Clarita Valley. By the way, in my opinion, districting is one of the worst things that have happened to the school boards since the government teachers unions took over the public school system and began inserting CRT into the curriculum decades ago. Many of you, youngins, all of you, have had it slowly seeping in, but a lot of you are waking up because you were smart to go to college. You had to be back then. Today, it's a little different. I also admire Karen Helene for standing up for board member Grease in saying, referring to board member Grease, quote, has my full support. This quote was taken from what you put online. So if anything's wrong, I hope that I would be corrected by Karen. She has my full support, she added. And what she did, it was not to attack one child. It was to stand up for all kids in her 3 schools that she represents. Anyone who chooses to go after board member Grease on any kind of rules of conduct needs to take a real good look at themselves. That is me. The quote ended after represents. Me, anyone who chooses to go after board member Grease on any kind of rules or conduct needs to take a real good look at themselves. Anna Grease is following through on her promises made during her campaign. How refreshing. Thank God at least one voice on your board is trying to keep the parents updated as to what is going on and what is being shoved under the rug in their children's schools. Since I brought up districting, please be aware that there is a special meeting of the City Council tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at the Community Center, not at City Council, at the Community Center at 22421 Market Street in Newhall. That's 22421 Market Street in Newhall. I urge you all to either attend the meeting or Zoom it. At the very least, make phone calls, voice message, emails to the City Council members separately, and the City Manager, Ken Striplin. City Manager Striplin is the person responsible for pushing the City Council into voting for something that will be as disastrous for the community as school districting is to the children's education, or should I say lack of real education, in the basic skills to taking care of themselves without being beholden to the government for each and every need. I guess I'm done. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
First off, I'd like to say every child is beautiful and special and all deserve the same respect. Ms. Grease, thank you for caring about the safety for all students by merely asking a question of how we can do better. You never called the student by name or anything else you are accused of. Most parents are fully aware of what you are addressing. For this board to turn on its own constituent and bully her to further their own agenda is disheartening, but not surprising. The truth of the matter is you people never wanted Miss Grease to be sitting here, and you're using this unfortunate situation to demonize her at all cost. Miss Cooper, where was your outrage for the students being pointed out in front of their peers for not wearing a mask because of their personal beliefs? Where was your outrage or concern when students and parents stood here crying about the mandate and that it was harming them, which we all know is true by now? Ms. Cooper, your only concern is to continue to push your own woke ideologies, which are CRT, pronouns, and transgender, taught at an early age, which is confusing, and most students are very confused by now, and it's causing a spike in mental illness. You may have a group who support you, but most of this community does not support you and your dangerous ideologies. It's obvious you are using these poor parents and their special needs to cause division and further your political agenda. Speaking of political agendas, because of this evil administration, they have sacrificed our children and their future. And now we have fentanyl deaths, confusion, suicide, and violence in our schools. Instead of stirring up hate amongst yourselves, maybe you should be focusing on the destruction that this generation is dealing with. Ms. Grease, you were right to question this board. And yes, we can and we should be doing better. Thank you.
Thank you. While Nancy's coming up, the next 3 people will be Carrie, Marcy, and Deanna. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening. Prior to my daughter having an IEP, she's had the sheriff's called on her. She's been hospitalized multiple times and placed in children's mental hospitals. After multiple tests, she was diagnosed with autism. Currently, she's in a special school. However, it was an arduous journey. There are federal and state special education laws, IDEA laws, and ADA laws. The districts must serve special education students with elements of their IEP in the least restrictive environment. Generally, this process starts in elementary schools alongside neurotypical children. Because neurodiverse children are dysregulated, they will have outbursts. The district's SELPA was developed to serve these children as they learn to self-regulate. In a small percentage, some neurodiverse children will be put in special schools. Mrs. Grease, the signal quoted you asking, the bigger topic and what people should be talking about is, do we have the right resources for all of our students? Do we have the right tools for our teachers and staff? Are we adequately equipped to handle serious safety concerns? The answer is subjective. We parents work as a team with the district while under stringent regulations and guidelines of the government. Our neurodiverse children do not want to hurt anyone. We don't make the rules, but we have to follow them so our children can have an equal education. I understand you may not be familiar with special education laws, so I emailed you an overview of the process because board members are not usually involved in the SELPA program. Mrs. Grace, I know you will make a great board member, and I fully support you. I don't expect you to be an expert when you just started. In closing, I hope we can all understand our limitations on this subject and begin to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just here to truly thank Anna for her genuine support and concern for all students. I thank you dearly for not caving to any negative or harassing comments by any of your constituents. Any parent without a CRT mindset, but with a godly point of view, will understand exactly what you were trying to say and advocate for. Don't be afraid about what you're up against. God's on your side.
Good evening. I heard Anna read the letter. The situation at one of our local schools seemed pretty intense. This board allowed her to finish the entire letter. If the board sat there and listened and thought that it was terrible, don't you think that you would have stopped her? It is interesting how opinions can change when voices are raised. Whether you're happy with what she shared or not, you are missing the overarching issue. What was happening at the school, essentially a lockdown, was not communicated to parents. Each of us has expectations that we as parents expect of our kids at home. Each of us has rules to abide by in our own workplace. And each of us hopes that our schools have protocols and systems in place for every situation. This situation proved that this is not the case. This is the point that Anna was displaying. And if you can stop focusing on info that was shared that does not actually include any personal info, you would realize that there were effects on the hundreds of kids that sat through the lockdown. Where's the support for them? How could their parents do their job at home and talk to the kids about the lockdown when there was no knowledge of it? The only protocol I heard was that there had to be an approval process to call officials. How can a trained school worker not have that power? That is concerning. There is a saying that if you see something, you say something, and typically schools promote this. How can a school not follow the same expectation? Create protocols, up your care and concern for the majority of the students, and bottom line, communicate to the parents. We deserve nothing less than to know and understand what is happening at our children's schools. Thank you.
As Deanna comes forward, I'm going to call the next three: Karen Carville, Laurel Castagna, and Karen Helene. Yeah.
Thank you. The single most important task of a school board is to work with their communities to improve student achievement in their local public schools. It is my understanding that our newest school board member, Anna, was asked to read a letter from some concerned parents regarding safety issues at a particular school site. She read this letter and as a result was faced with an extensive amount of criticism for essentially being a parent advocate. The main purpose of advocacy is to make sure all people can have their voice heard on issues that matter to them and to promote their rights. All students deserve to be and feel safe at school, all students. Who is looking out for the general education students? From my perspective, that's all Anna was doing. Parents deserve to know what's happening at their child's school. Why was a child allowed to run around and destroy things for 2 hours? What is your district protocol to keep all students safe? What extra resources are provided in these types of situations? There is a serious lack of communication happening here. Instead, there's a lot of negative blame, a lot of which fell on Anna. We should be working together to better the situation for all the students. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, all. I have come here for what, a year, and I've never done a public comment, and I felt like I left here 2 weeks ago, and I just was so upset over the definite calculated evening 2 weeks ago, for sure. First of all, the board report said that Anna purportedly had a letter, which means allegedly, basically. Cooper, you were saying that the board member did not reflect the views of the board as a whole. So that leads me to believe there was a conversation between the four of you at some other time for you to state that. You used words like inappropriate, disrespectful, incomplete, unverified. Miss Love, you were talking about that students were never in danger. No school property was vandalized. All of these different terms that I was hearing. And what I was saddened about really was that a parent or group of parents wrote this letter. That was their truth that happened that day. You guys took away that truth, if that makes sense. So when a parent comes into the principal's office and says, oh, I'm having a problem with this and da-da-da-da, does the principal say that's unfounded? That's unverified? Basically, that didn't happen? No, of course not. You don't do that. Mr. Trunke, I had to say, I respect you as a man. You are the longest running board member here. You were elected in 2014. You've been through a lot, Mr. Barlavi and his things. And I mean, you Google Saugus School Board, there's, a lot of drama that has happened. I asked Miss Cooper if any sort of statement was ever read for any transgressions that any past board member has ever done. I mean, Julie Olson, I mean, there's plenty. I don't think anyone has ever made this strategic stand like you all did 2 weeks ago. I consulted Bowtie Consulting. We pay them $1,250 every 6 months to do team building for you guys. Ben Johnson, I think is his name. I'd like to get an outline of exactly what team building you guys do, because it's, I'll definitely go to the May 6th meeting. Did anyone ever call Miss Grease and ask her? Anyone pick up the phone and ask her, hey, can you give me a little bit more information about this parent group? Anyone ever do that? Good team, good teamwork. Very good team.
Thank you.
Okay. You ready?
You make me done.
Okay. Good evening. I'm here tonight to talk about the incident that happened 2 weeks ago at the Saugus School Board meeting.
I've never seen such disrespect, hateful behavior, and ignorance from teachers, paraprofessionals, parents of special needs children, community members, board members, and other educators within Saugus Union School District and other surrounding districts in the Santa Clarita Valley. The calculated attack on Anna Grease was disgusting and uncalled for. Anna was trying her best to bring to the board a concern of a parent in her district. Those were not her words, and for her to be ambushed the way she was despicable. Since Anna was sworn in as a board member in December, I've only observed her to be nothing but engaging and the only other board member besides Mr. Watson to ask difficult questions concerning matters currently facing Saugus Union School District. It sickened to me to hear Mrs. Love degrade her colleague instead of looking to find a way to support her and the parents' request. While listening to the public comment that night, I was a bit puzzled when the word basis came up several times. Basis, I thought, what's that? What do these letters stand for? I was beyond curious to find out what basis meant. After asking two SUSD principals, Miss Berries, Mr. Clement, all whom said they did not know what basis stood for, it wasn't until moments later that I received my answer from Dr. Hawkins, who at first didn't know what basis stood for, but then looked it up on her phone and told me. BASIS stands for Building Academic and Social Emotional Success. Why didn't I know about this program? Why didn't the board or school administrators know what this program was? It was sad to see the backlash by certain members of our community that called Anna out for reading this letter. Mrs. Grease's mention of this program and reading this letter from a parent did not identify the student, and those who are upset about it should not be. The bigger question is why so many were upset that this incident was brought up instead of being grateful that there was some transparency. It was perfectly acceptable for this concern to be brought to the board. It is necessary to recognize that both typical and special needs students sometimes act inappropriately and could become a danger to other students, school staff, or themselves. My hope is that Saugus School District and Board can properly educate and regularly train their staff as well as students on programs like BASIS so that incidents happening within schools in our district are handled appropriately and effectively. I want every child who attends an SUSD public school to feel safe and loved. I also want all teachers to feel safe as well. Let's not become another news story like a Florida school was this past week. While I do not know all the specific details surrounding this incident, it deeply saddens me to know that a paraprofessional was injured when a student attacked her and beat her unconscious after she took a video game console away from him. It is imperative that we protect all students, teachers, and other employees in Saugus Union School District. We need to be better.
Thank you. Okay, as Ms. Salim comes forward, Karen Carville, you'll be next after her. And then if Mr. Petzold is online, if you want to raise your hand, then we can prepare for you. Okay.
New
Thanks.
subject. And I'm sorry, I thought by placing my comment, I thought it was going to be, it is still connected to the comprehensive school safety plan that we plan to talk about tonight. It is a 44-page document. I don't know how many people have truly read it. It was sent out on Parents Square, but there are some things that even as a draft, it's still less last year's trustees. So I hope the draft gets updated. There is a category here that I just wanted clarification. It's not criticism. It truly is clarification, but I'll read the paragraph. The principal or superintendent of schools shall immediately suspend pursuit to the section 48911 and shall recommend expulsion of a pupil that he or she determines has committed any of the following acts at a school or at a school activity off school grounds. This is where my question comes. Possessing, selling, or otherwise furnishing a firearm. This subdivision does not apply to an act of possessing a firearm if the pupil had obtained prior written permission to possess the firearm from a certified school employee, which is concurred in by the principal or designee of the principal. When would a child ever be given permission to have a firearm? I need clarification if I've misread that paragraph. When would ever a certified school employee get permission for someone to have a firearm? That's what I need clarification on.
I had some questions as well on the safety. First off, do all those rules apply to all children, or is special ed and general ed two different? Is there two different safety plans depending on what their levels are? Also, under the elopement section, it talks about that the office manager announces a code pink, putting the school on soft lockdown. I'd like someone to ask, what is the difference between soft and hard lockdown? And then under the emergency response guidelines, it states that communication will be sent to parents if necessary. I'd like that to be changed to notify parents, period. All parents should be notified of any code pinks, any soft lockdowns, any hard lockdowns. Who is in charge of saying whether things are locked down or not? And then under disorderly conduct, there needs to be a bullet added as well that parents will be notified. There's a description of disorderly conduct with all the different bullets. Also under psychological trauma that may interfere with a child learning, lack of focus, etc. There's a whole description involving our crisis intervention team. Who are they? And again, parents need to be added to that in the bullets. I just wanted to shout out, I really appreciate Miss Bellina always letting us know when paramedics are at our school. I live close by, and anytime there's a police car or ambulance, it always alarms us as parents. So I just wanted to tell her I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Is Mr. Petzold available by Zoom? Okay. All right, then we will move on to the reports. Ms. Samantha Ford for the Saugus Teachers Association.
Good evening, trustees and cabinet. Congratulations to the students that received the Artistic Achievement Award this evening. Your creativity is an inspiration to all. From drawing to drama to writing, it's fantastic that you share your gifts with your classmates, and some have even ventured into teaching your peers. Keep up the good work. Thank you to our maintenance and operations staff that worked all weekend to help keep our schools from having further damage from flooding. We appreciate that you went above and beyond to keep our schools in working order. A big thank you to all the administrators and staff that worked well into the night and early hours of the morning to make sure staff and families were kept up to date regarding Plum Canyon. This is Read Across America Week. Many staffs have planned daily events or themes for our students to be excited about reading. As Neil Gaiman says, fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragons can be beaten. Next week is another week of celebration. Next week, we'll be celebrating the week of the school administrator and school social worker. Both of these positions are invaluable to our members, staff, students, and parent community. We hope they know how much they are appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for the California School Employees Association, Ms. Delmy Calderon.
Very low. Good evening, members, board members, cabinets, and guests. On this precious evening, I would like to, it's precious because I could be connected to a hospital bed or something, but I choose to be positive no matter what, right? So I would like to begin by congratulating each student who received the Artistic Achievement Award. Your abilities to express your creativity and imagination have paid off today, and may they continue to flourish in every opportunity you may have. CSEA would like to express our gratitude to our chapter negotiating committee, which includes Sylvia Arnoni, our chapter lead negotiator, David Breceda, Antonio Arana, Teresa Teresa, and Marcos Chavez for standing on the front lines advocating for members. The phrase, "Together we achieve more," could not be more clear to me since it was my first time witnessing how much advocating is required while negotiating with members' needs. I am happy that we have successfully completed negotiations. Our chapter met and voted to ratify the tentative agreement that is on the agenda for board members to approve this evening. My takeaway from members' smiles has been rewarding, knowing that it is just the beginning of bigger and better achievements that we anticipate in the coming year. CSEA looks forward to witnessing continued collaboration between our classified staff, teachers, and administrators. I thank you in advance for future consideration with everything that you do to protect us all, Saugus employees, and increase the personal working relationship amongst each other. When I say personal, I mean getting to know us all for who we are and not just our titles. I invite everyone on this board and everyone at the hears the sound of my voice, because I'm very loud, that when you come across one of us, you pause and think of our core values. I always remind myself that in order to practice respect, integrity, learning, teamwork, enthusiasm, I must possess love and kindness to apply these principles. See, to me, kindness must run deep. It has to be rooted within my core to manifest itself in empathy, understanding, and compassion towards everyone I meet. I must be kind when I don't agree and reflect that in natural ways on the job sites. I want to remind us all that as people, we are kinder to those who we view as human rather than employees or coworkers. Our ongoing goal, it gets a little emotional, so I'm trying to compose myself. Our ongoing goal as CSEA employees is to continue to cultivate kindness in all possible interactions with each other. As this world falls apart, let's remind ourselves the kindness must start with us first. It said that one must possess love. The one must love herself first in order to pass that on to others. You cannot pass on what you don't possess. And that goes for myself. I invite you to think and ask yourself, how will I respond to a member of my Saugus family in the next time I have an encounter? Question. Think about the comforting words to assure the listener that your words are not superficial, but that they are rooted in the fact that you care. Let's think of the role models we need to be for the present generation that has joined the Saugus family. Let's fill their days with moments that will increase their integrity, their enthusiasm, and their learning to keep on. Remembering that we are all prone to making human mistakes and errors, we can choose to practice grace and kindness and use those experiences to learn from each other, to professionally encourage each other and accept each other's differences and diversities. Lastly, let's remind ourselves to become aware of those surrounding us and be willing to create daily connections as we go. As Ian McLaren stated, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. Buenas noches. Good night.
Thank you, Delmy. Now for the Saugus Administrators Association, Ms. Elizabeth Bellina.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Good evening, Governing Board and Cabinet. I'm Elizabeth Bellina, the principal of Rosedale, and it's my privilege to address the board on behalf of the Saugus Administrators Association. I want to congratulate all of the incredible student artists that were recognized tonight. How wonderful that our district values the importance of the arts, and I love that we are celebrating these creative students and their talents. I'm also excited to be participating along with my principal colleagues, teachers, and parents on our district arts committee so that all SUSD students will have access to a more enriching art curriculum and opportunities. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been very busy at the school sites and as a collective SAA team. Last week, all 15 school sites, school site teachers, principals, and some classified staff participated in a positive behavior interventions and supports, that's PBIS, training. This professional development focused on how and why we use PBIS to teach and reinforce common behavior expectations at all 15 school sites and in every classroom and common space on our campuses. PBIS is a core pillar of our multi-tiered system of support and helps students make appropriate behavior choices, and helping students make appropriate behavior choices will help ensure they can reach their full academic and personal potential. Last week, all principals participated in the workplace assessment of violence risk training. We are now all certified to use an assessment tool to help us better support students in crisis and get them the help they need. Safety is of the utmost importance, so having this certification will help us to continue keeping all of our students and campuses safe. At the last board meeting, Mr. Ed Clement presented on our iReady Diagnostic 2 data. We know that iReady has been an instrumental tool in helping provide our students with important intervention and enrichment. With the guidance of the Ed Services Department, Mr. Clement, Dr. Fractor, and Mrs. Mann each helped each school's guiding coalition create a school-wide goal for iReady usage. In our data meetings with Dr. Hawkins this month, we reported ways we are monitoring our school sites' iReady usage, ensuring our students are getting the research recommended 45 minutes in each subject area weekly and are passing their lessons so we can meet our school-wide goal. Each site is using unique ways to recognize and motivate their students who meet their iReady minutes and pass lessons. At Rosedale, we have seen a 10% increase in our usage in both reading and math since we returned from winter break. After our guiding coalition presented our goal to our staff, grade levels worked on ways to motivate their students. Our students in 5th grade who meet their iReady minutes and pass a certain amount of lessons each week get extra PE with their favorite PE teacher. Our 2nd graders work hard to meet their iReady minutes weekly so that they can have free time to play educational games on their Chromebooks. At Rio Vista, during their video announcements, a student iReady ambassador announces how the whole school is doing on their school-wide goal. Also at Rio Vista, their kindergartners keep track of their lessons passed with a teddy bear shaped chart, and once they filled their chart, they get to bring a stuffed animal to school with them for a day. These are just a couple of examples of the many ways that we are working to motivate and ensure our students are getting their iReady minutes and are passing lessons, because we know iReady is an invaluable resource to help our students achieve academic success. As we focus on making sure our students are safe, they know our common school and classroom behavior expectations, and we know and we work hard to help all students learn at high levels, I am reminded of my why. When I was in 3rd grade at Peachtree Elementary in Peachtree, Georgia, my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Canyon, taught us the sign language to Whitney Houston's smash hit, The Greatest Love of All. I love Whitney Houston and I love that song. I remember the sign language still to this day, and several years later, I used to teach it to my students when I was teaching, because I think the song speaks so beautifully to why we work so hard to help all students be successful. In the song, Whitney Houston sings, "I believe the children are our future, teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside, give them a sense of pride to make it easier." As we work hard to teach our students well and give them a sense of pride, I know we are all positively impacting the future of our students and the future of SUSD and our world at large. I'm grateful to be a part of this intentional work that we are doing in the Saugus Union School District to help our students be successful. And I know that together we will achieve more. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for the child development programs, Dr. Fractor.
Good evening, board members, cabinet, and community. My name is Karen Fractor, Director of Categorical and Special Programs, and speaking tonight on behalf of our Child Development Program. Throughout the 22-23 school year, our Child Development team has worked tremendously hard to continue to live by our mission of providing an enriching, safe, and nurturing environment and to helping children feel successful. Tonight, I wanted to highlight for you some ways that we're doing this. First off, we're excited to share that we have well over 1,600 individual students who are signed up for a variety of after-school enrichment programs being offered at all 15 school sites. Based on our preliminary data, Mad Science, Designing with Art, and Virtual Reality seem to be the most popular, with many classes meeting capacity within minutes of registration going live. We're excited to start our spring enrichment session March 13th, and we'll share with you some of the learning occurring midway through. Thank you to our CDP staff, the office managers and the office assistants, the Ed Services team, our family and community liaisons, and our site administrators for helping our families register online, receive information about the classes, and really know about all these amazing opportunities we've been able to offer. In the preschool world, we wanted to share that one of our three California State preschool teachers recently spent her own time on a Saturday attending a workshop focused primarily on early childhood literacy strategies. She reached out to us right after the workshop, letting us know how much she learned and what strategies she was excited to begin implementing with her students and also share with her colleagues. This is such a great example of the professional learning that's occurring often as we expand our universal pre-kindergarten programs to meet the needs of our youngest students. As March 1st begins tomorrow, Women in History Month, our staff and CDP have planned a variety of activities to kick off this month for all 15 of our school sites. Sorry, I got excited. Tomorrow, students will be having a group discussion about the various women that have had a positive impact on their life. This is a great opportunity for our students to not only reflect on their own lives, but get to hear about the lived experiences of their peers. Another great way that we build community and understanding for one another in our programs. We're also excited to share that we continue to add additional staff to our team. Just since January, we've onboarded 10 activity leaders and guest activity leaders and one assistant site supervisor, with more interviews scheduled in the near future. As part of our onboarding process, we've had the opportunity to share with our new staff the vision we have for expanded learning opportunities within SUSD and discuss their individual role in supporting us in living our vision for where we want to be and the mission for what we want to do. Diana Gonzalez and I are so proud of our CDP team for their continued commitment to our students and their families, which is why we wanted to highlight the work we're doing to truly ensure our programs all provide that enriching, safe, and nurturing environment to help all children feel successful in who they are and what they do. Thank you again for your support of our programs, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Now representing the parent leader organizations, we have Mrs. Michelle Wagner, Rosedale Elementary PTA President.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Wagner. I'm the PTA president over at Rosedale Elementary School. I'm so happy to be here with you all today representing my son's school. We've had a very action-packed year so far. We started the year off with a bang with our Harvest Festival and silent auction. Shortly after that, we had our Grandparents and VIP Day with over 350 people on our campus. What we've been finding this year is that we've had record attendance at many of our events. And with the closures for the past 2 years, we're just finding that our school community is just so excited and very eager to be on campus and being amongst our school community. So it's been really great. Upcoming for the month of March, we're going to be celebrating Read Across America. And we're returning our One School, One Book program for our students. Also, just talking about our record attendance, just this past couple of weeks, we had our Family Magic Night, which was really fun. Next month, we're also having our Family Science Night. Also, this past week, we just celebrated our Reflections Gala. It was such a beautiful night, and we actually had a record number of participants at our school. We had 39 entries, which was very great to see. And we just finished up our Apex Leadership Program. We raised over $71,000. We've also had our Penny Wars back on our campus, which our students just love. It's so exciting to see them being excited about that friendly competition on campus between the classes and grade levels. We raised $4,000 from that fundraiser. And also we brought back our Scholastic in-person book fair. We raised almost $7,000 for our school library and our classrooms. And we have a lot of assemblies coming up. We have our Draw Along Assembly this Friday. We'll have Happiness Is Now. We're trying to get that on our campus to celebrate the end of the year. We also had our BMX assembly. And let me see. Sorry. Oh, and we're also having our multicultural night in the month of April, which we're super excited about. It's going to be our first time doing that event at our school. So we're just looking forward to celebrating our diverse community and just really putting a spotlight on the different cultures that we have at our school as well. And we're just looking forward to really ending the year with a bang as well. We're also doing PTA sponsored field trips this year, which we're really excited about. We're providing teachers over $10,000 in grants this year as well. And it's just been a really great year. And we're just looking forward to just providing more opportunities for family engagement. That's what PTA is really about, our mission, and just for families to make connections with their students and staff and just our community in general, and just upholding this positive environment that we've created at Rosedale, and just trying to have this environment where our students look forward to attending school. And also, I just want to touch on Dr. Hawkins' remarks on how one of her favorite things about these meetings is just seeing the smiles on parents' faces, taking pictures and whatnot. And I also feel the same way about our events. It's just so beautiful to see the parents just so proud and so happy to share those moments with their students. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wagner. I attended the Harvest Festival at Rosedale. It was fabulous. Yes. Okay, now we will have our superintendent and cabinet reports. Mrs. Berry.
Good evening, everyone. In the Student Services Department, I actually have several really exciting things to share tonight. First thing is that we were notified that 5 of our schools were, I guess awarded and lots of words, were chosen to participate in a grant. It's a statewide grant, and only 8 schools were chosen, all of Los Angeles County area. Bridgeport, Cedar Creek, Helmers, Tesoro, and West Creek will be participating in what is called California Integrated Supports Project, CAISP, because we like acronyms for everything. And it's a 2-year grant commitment. And what it's going to do is provides coaching and professional development from the district level to the school site level to each individual teacher level to help us implement our MTSS. And you heard Mr. Clement and I present about that. And so we're really excited about this work. We're excited about having an outside consultant and really making sure that we are continuing to deepen our implementation. So being 5 out of the 8 schools and 5 being in Saugus, I think is a pretty big deal. So that was really, really exciting. And I have to say that's thanks to Tanya Nowakowski, who really hounded the people and made sure that we were in that. So super exciting. The other thing that I wanted to share is in our
Mrs. Berries, can I add to that? A little piece you forgot. So it's important to know that we weren't selected for that because we've just started our MTSS process. Actually, we were selected for that because of how we've begun implementing our MTSS process. We met a lot of the main criteria that we're selecting the 8 schools, and that's out of 80 districts in the LA County region. So to have 5 schools in our district be selected, we were really excited about, because we've really been working hard with our MTSS process to try to put the systems in place, the programs in place to help our students at all of the different levels, and to receive that acknowledgement. 2 of those schools are our distinguished schools, and we know that the others are really working on it, but we know all 15 are too. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. The other really exciting thing is we received 400 of these boxes. What these boxes are, I'm going to try to show it without it falling down. These are calming corner boxes, and Sam Ford, this is the 3rd year that she has applied, written, edited, pounded out the Kaiser grant. And so this year our focus was on students. And so there's 400 boxes. Every classroom TK through 6 will be getting one of these boxes. They'll also be in staff lounge. District office is going to get one, and each of our social workers will have one. And basically what we're going to do is teach the students to proactively if they need a moment to go into the space. It comes with these cards. Sam is also going to do a phenomenal video that we are going to publish that is going to show how to use this. So really excited about that. Thank you, Sam. Our students are going to benefit from it. I think the really cool thing as well is it's not only going to be in every classroom for students, but it's also for staff. And yes, we did have fun playing and checking out all the toys today. So I shouldn't say toys, I should say calming gadgets. So that's really cool.
Nick says business needs one to do the budget.
What?
Nick says business needs one to do the budget.
You meant a whole kit.
He wants the whole box, but it's okay.
The last thing that I wanted to share is that next week, as you heard a couple times, is the week of the school social worker, and the theme this year is We Rise. I wanted to read something that was published by the School Social Work Association of America. During the school year, school social workers were confronted with challenges, heightened anxieties, and anticipated difficulties. However, school social workers face these challenges with strength and resilience. School social workers rise up, supporting students, families, and school communities. School social workers rise up to share hope. They rise to listen and understand, and rise to challenge inequities. They rise to support all students. They want to recognize the important and impactful work of school social workers. And I just want to send my note of appreciation and gratitude for all that they do. These are some very caring individuals. They've helped us out with some really tough, unique situations and providing support for our students and our families. And I'm so grateful that I get to work with them every day. Tanya is a school social worker by trade, and I have to say I am very grateful for her to be my thought partner and providing support and leadership to our team. So thank you all for all you do. And that's our next week. Mr.
Thank
Clement.
you, Mr. Clement.
Speaking from somebody with maybe some attention issues when I was younger, as an active child, I appreciate the fidget. I also want to thank some of the comments that were made today, even from our student at Foster. Allie talked about her help with students in class with the iReady program. And we heard a lot about that from our speaker from our Administrators Association today. So I just wanted to toss that out there and thank everybody for our ongoing commitment to that program. We are in the first week of 2 cycles of intervention that we're doing after school. There are 2 4-week sessions, one 4-week session that started this week before spring break, and then we'll have another one after spring break that's going on at all the various schools. So we're excited for that process. Mrs. Belina also mentioned her opportunity to participate on our arts committee. So we're excited for that process to begin and get that off the ground. That will be starting this week as well. And then I want to just thank all of the different divisions, both HR and business and student services, and everyone involved in helping us get all of that enrichment off the ground. It was a lot of contracts. It was a lot of looking at details and scheduling, and then all of the work that's being done by that team at the sites. It's been a big project, and that program is something that's changing and adapting and growing into something that's going to be even more amazing as we grow into that program ourselves. So we're really excited for that opportunity, and we appreciate that. So thank you, everybody, for your hard work with that. And lastly, I just wanted to thank Delmy for her positive message. You always have such good, nice, kind words to say. And I remember, I think one of the first weeks you spoke, you were all super nervous and didn't know if you were going to be able to get your words out, and listen to you now. So congratulations and thank you.
Dr. Stevenson.
All right, good evening. I think I said this, but Delmy was not here at the last board meeting. So I do want to say thank you to CSEA for their hard work with negotiations and their collaboration. Happy we were able to reach a tentative agreement. And then the only other thing is, remember on March 11th, 9 to 1, Santa Clarita Valley Teacher Recruitment Fair at Rancho Pico Junior High School over in Stevenson Ranch. If you know someone that wants a teaching job, Send them over. That's it.
Just two things for me tonight. I wanted to thank two of our superstars that are in our midst right now.
Still in my thunder
Really?
again. Yeah, again, but it's okay. Keep going.
Peter Gayton, our Director of Maintenance Operations, Transportation and Facilities, worked tirelessly this weekend to make sure we weren't negatively impacted by the rain. And then John Malarkey, that guy right there that's smiling. He's our fabulous irrigation specialist who worked just as hard. So really kudos and thank you to both of them. I will mention a fun fact about both of them. They're working currently on native plant gardens at some of our school sites. Highlands is first, and I think that's coming, I guess, when the rain stops. Yeah. The other thing that I have been thinking about this weekend is the tremendous thanks we owe to the community for Measure EE. I was here before we did all of the work to the buildings to make them rainproof, and I was just thinking about the long lists of roof leaks that we had whenever it would rain and what a process we went through to fix that. And we don't have that anymore. So thank you so much to the community for that. It makes our work easier.
Thank you, Dr. Hoskins.
Well, I think maybe Mr. Heinlein and I spend too much time together because we keep thinking along the same lines. But I do want to thank not just Mr. Malarkey and Mr. Gayton, but also Mr. Heinlein, Mr. Sandifer. There's a whole host of folks, Mr. Leathers, Mr. Tweed, who helped this weekend. We had 3 schools with we didn't have any roof leaks, which was great, but there was so much groundwater. As you know, the 5 freeway was shut down. There were a variety of challenges around with landslides and things. And there was so much groundwater that we had a few challenges with getting it out of the ground and not seeping under the door. But what I really appreciate was how they went to work on it immediately, especially Mr. Gayton and Mr. Sandifer. They were at the CASH conference up north, and their plane was diverted to Ontario Airport from Burbank. They had to take an Uber and figure out how to get from Ontario back to Burbank to get their cars, with the 5 freeway then being closed. And I only know all this because there was a group of us that were in Sacramento who had the same experience, only we were in LAX. We were getting videos from him from the school site about what everything looked like. And he was back up and at the school sites the following morning with the rest of his staff and mobilizing companies to come out and mitigate any of the water intrusion issues and work with everybody, and then check every single school site to make sure that they were all in good working order, because we had the 2. So I think when we say we thank these folks, we know they don't work 9 to 5 jobs. We don't really expect them to work 24/7 jobs, but we know that when they don't get home from a flight till 1:30 in the morning because of travel challenges in the pouring, freezing rain that we experienced that night as we got off the plane on the runway, to know that he got up the next morning and made sure that everything was fine, and then experienced it all over again when he thought everything was fixed on Monday and it wasn't fixed at one of the schools, and we had to go through it one more time, only to think we'd made it through, and then have, unfortunately, an SCV water main break, and we had to go through it all over again last night. And so I just want to thank everybody from the team at Plum who were up, writing emails to my compadre over here. We were up at till midnight to talk to Roger from SCV Water. Thank you, Roger Hutchin, wherever you are, for helping us, because when you're faced with a school closure in the middle of the night and you kind of don't know who's going to help. Thank you to Dylan and his crew from SCV Water. We had gotten Dylan's number and thought we would call him. But then we found Roger, and Roger is a supervisor, so that helped us more. But when I went to the school this morning, Dylan and his crew were still on the job filling the holes. So that means that they were there last night when we talked to them at 10 o'clock all the way through the night to fix it, so that the school didn't quite make the 8 o'clock piece. So we had to keep the school closed, but we're up and ready to go for tomorrow. So I just want to thank all of the facilities people, our facilities people, the community facilities people. We also got to go this last 2 weeks to the distinguished school piece. We've already celebrated West Creek and Helmers. I know, is she here? Dr. Aguilar? No? They barely missed it. So maybe that's why I've got it in my head, but Helmers and West Creek. Because we were at that fabulous celebration, celebrating the wonderful work you did, we had to miss the PTA reflections for the Valley. And so one of our staff sent me this. I know, Mrs. Love, you did dual representation that night as a parent and as a board member. But what I found fascinating was tonight we're celebrating our artists. And when I went through the program, there were 69 individual awards given. 31 of them are from Saugus Union School District. So it's really exciting to see that. And I just want to thank everybody for their hard effort. I know arts is something that when we do our parent surveys and our annual surveys for the LCAP, it always comes out as something that we really, really want. We're really looking forward to the Prop 28 arts grant that we have coming and what we can do with that, because that is some ongoing dollars that has to be spent all on, for the most part, all on staffing for that. And so that's really providing art teachers and art support staff in California where we've never had that experience before, like in other states. So we're really excited for that. And just congratulations to everybody for their hard work, because I know you're all working hard and we're seeing those little glimmers. We're also seeing the, pipes break and stuff like that every once in a while, but we get through that too. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins. And now board reports, Mrs. Grease.
Hi. Just two things. I am just happy to be able to have the comprehensive school safety plans on the agenda tonight. I realize that this is just an inform. It is a what is it? So I can appreciate having that dialogue. What I do hope to have is just more conversation and more dialogue before we actually have to approve the individual site safety plans, because I do believe it's a lot of maybe private and closed session conversations that need to be had in order to really have a good sense of what is in here and what should be in here. So I'm hoping as a board that we can have that, because as of to date, we have not had those conversations. So I am really looking forward to that. Second of all, I think I hope that tonight's board report reflection can be accurately depicted on the meeting minutes. I think really one of the things that we all want is to be listened to and to be heard and to ensure that we have a voice. So I hope that when we approve next board meetings, the meeting minutes, that mine are accurately depicted, accurately summarized as they should, because at the very least, I feel like I deserve that. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Love.
Good evening. I wanted to say congratulations again to our Artistic Achievement Award winners tonight. I think we all really loved hearing all about all of their creativity and selflessness and patience with their peers. And it was really great to hear all of that. Recently, I've been able to visit several of our campuses and been really excited to see a lot of the events and lessons and art projects that the schools have been working on in honor of Black History Month for February, really letting the students soak in those lessons and learn about Black history and culture and historical figures, which I think is so important for our kids. And I look forward to next month, starting tomorrow, which is Women's History Month. And I'm excited to see the events that are in process and underway being planned for that. I may even be dressing up as Ruth Bader Ginsburg for one of those events. So I'm excited to see how that all pans out next month. I also wanted to thank our maintenance and facilities teams, special services crews, Mr. Heinlein, everyone for all their work throughout the weekend, through the night, odd hours, really pulling together to help us with the crazy weather that we've all experienced this weekend and the beginning of this week. We really appreciate the dedication to make our schools safe for our kids to be able to return to today and for Plum Canyon tomorrow, but we really appreciate it and we see all that hard work. And then lastly, I wanted to congratulate our 5 schools that were selected for the California Integrated Support Project grant. I'm excited to hear about that. To have 5 of our schools out of only 8 schools selected is huge. And when you look at the criteria that was part of that selection process, it's really a testament to how hard our teams at the school sites and our administration and our teachers are working to implement the MTSS system and PBIS, and really working toward the supports for those initiatives and making sure that our students are supported and our teachers have what they need. And so congratulations to those schools for that accomplishment. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Trunke.
First, I want to say, as Dr. Hawkins mentioned, I got to go down to Anaheim for the California Distinguished School Recognitions by State Superintendent Tony Thurmond. Thank you, Ms. Bett and Mrs. Velo-Karadny. It was a great evening. And I am so thrilled for the incredible work that is being done at your school sites. Congratulations again for that honor. I want to again congratulate all of our Artistic Achievement Award recipients. I too want to say thank you to our maintenance and operations staff for the extraordinary work they did over the weekend to make sure our school sites were ready for students yesterday. And finally, I want to thank Mr. Heinlein and Ms. Zarasua and the entire Business Services Department for all of the work done to complete the audit and the financial statements. As a financial professional myself, I know how much goes into it and what it takes to get a positive review. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. I think my report's going to sound a little bit redundant, but I think it bears repeating. There's so many people being recognized and receiving awards, and schools receiving certifications. Just super pumped up about what's going on in our district. I feel like that guy in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You know, send him his high school football rules. But I'm super excited about all the great things happening in our district, and I think we should be very proud. Again, we're very proud of our artists who were recognized tonight. And again, this is what definitely deserves repeating. This weekend, we had quite a storm. I hope you all enjoyed frolicking in the 1/16 of an inch of snow that we got. And we are bracing for another one. Has it started yet? It's coming. Okay. Again, wanted to extend our sincere thanks to our maintenance and operations staff who worked through the weekend after another long week. Is it ever a short week, even on a short week? And then, you know, working to make sure that our classrooms were ready for our students. They persisted, as you heard, through Saturday and Sunday, and then on through into Monday morning. Unfortunately, so did the rains, and the water encroachment, and the water main issues. So I just wanted to thank them for their persistence and dedication. We're truly grateful. I also wanted to thank our students and families who demonstrated their patience during some of the inconveniences. Unfortunately, like I said, the weather continues, so please continue to stand strong with us. Last night, I attended the meeting of the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association. We had a great conversation around the urgency and importance of early childhood literacy. And as trustees from around the county, we were able to go into breakout rooms and share some of the things that each of our districts were doing, and was very proud to see Saugus Union School District at the forefront of current research and practices, and was very proud to say, yeah, my district's doing that. Yeah, we're on top of that. So that was wonderful. I was also grateful, as I expressed last Tuesday evening, for our special board meeting on AB 300 and school facilities. I was glad to see so many in attendance. There were a few here in the room and quite a few, I believe, on Zoom. And so I wanted to thank you all for being in attendance. I think there was good conversation had, and I think it was important enough for us to separate it out as a special meeting. So thank you to Mr. Heinlein, Dr. Hawkins, and the rest of the team for updating us all on the current situations of our buildings. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. I have very little to report, but I will echo my colleagues in thanking all of you for the work that you've done. Thank you, Mrs. Wagner, for coming out. Taking on PTA presidency is a big commitment. Delmy, thank you for your kind words. I got to share a table with Delmy at LMI for a little while, It was really fun to get to know you as a person and not just a title. So, and now we will move on to the consent calendar. Does anyone need anything removed from the consent calendar? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now we move on to the presentation. So we're going to hear about the comprehensive school safety plan. Dr. Hawkins.
So yes, I'd like to turn this over to Dr. Stevenson from her department, but I'd also like to have Ms. Tapia come to the podium as well. And then I think the rest of the team can sort of line up Mr. Gayton and Ms. Dempshire and our special guests. And I'll let them go from there.
We good?
Hmm?
Are we good?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Good evening. So this evening we're presenting about the comprehensive school safety plans. We've got a team here to help present. Next slide. The Comprehensive School Safety Plan, or CSSP, is governed by California Education Code, which requires that school sites to develop a CSSP each year to address potential safety concerns on campus. These plans are developed with input from representative parents and staff in consultation with local law enforcement. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what is a comprehensive school safety plan? The CSSP is a written plan that's developed annually by the school site council. It identifies strategies, programs, and procedures to address a variety of safety issues, from natural disasters to potential criminal activity on the school campus. The school site council creates these plans by March 1st each year, but they are flexible living documents that can change depending on a variety of things. For example, physical changes to a school site. Construction is a great example, right? Right now we have construction at Emblem, so evacuation routes might need to change temporarily. Another way it could change is if we get new research-based strategies. So for example, when I was growing up, earthquake drill was duck and cover, right? We didn't hold on to anything. Now it's duck, cover, and hold on. So simple example, but those are the types of changes that could happen. Next slide. All right. As you can see, there's a lot of required components to the CSSP. Safety is not just about the physical security of a campus, which is what we call the hard tools, but it's also about the social emotional safety of our students and staff, which we call the soft tools. What you see here addresses most, but not all, of the hard and soft components. The CSSP versions available to the public do not have the plans for bomb threats, active shooters, or tactical response to criminal activity. And the reason for that is we want our users at our sites to have the plan and to be able to use the plan, but we want to avoid allowing the planner or the criminal to use our plans to circumvent our security. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Barbara Tapia, who's the Assistant Director of Human Resources and Risk Management.
You, Dr. Stevenson. Next slide, please. Plan, prepare, practice. Oh, forgive me. Thank you, cabinet members, board members, and community members for letting me talk about school safety and our CSSPs. Plan, prepare, practice. These are the three keystones to creating and maintaining successful comprehensive school safety plans, or CSSPs. We'll speak about each of these steps tonight. Please understand that this is neither a linear nor a static process. We do not simply consider what is needed, write a program, rehearse, and then file the CSSP until the next year. We are constantly considering student and staff safety, learning from our experiences, and updating our procedures. The process is organic. In fact, just today, we were presented with a learning opportunity at Plum Canyon with the break in the main water line. Following the resolution of the issue to the point where school was in fact closed for the day, Dr. Hawkins called for a debrief at the district office this morning. So the team got together and we did discover in the debrief one opportunity for improvement. We made that change today. So next slide, please. Planning. Planning really begins with the utilization of numerous resources. Next slide, please. And here are our partners in planning. Obviously, Site Council. This is the organization charged with the reevaluation of the plan on an annual basis. And just so you know, our site councils are comprised of 5 elected community members, 3 elected teachers elected by their peers, 1 classified employee elected by their peers, and the site principal. We also consider staff members, parents, guardians, first responders, utility companies, thank you, utility companies, insurance providers, partner agencies such as our food services, store transportation, county, state, federal agencies, and private foundations as partners in our planning. Next slide, please. Prepare. We are very proud of the preparation that Saugus Union School District has committed in the preparation for the safety of our school communities. I'd like to introduce superhero Peter Gayton, Director of Maintenance and Operations, Transportation and Facilities, to talk about the steps that our district has taken relative to school safety.
Next slide, please. Good evening, Board President Cooper, Dr. Hawkins, Cabinet, Board, and guests. It's an honor to speak to you about all of the safety projects and protocols that we have installed here in Saugus. Planning for safety is the district's top priority. We always have 2 things in mind: provide a safe environment and protect our students and staff. In 2017, the district had a threats and physical safety and security assessment known as TAPS conducted by a third-party vendor, Keenan and Associates. Together, working with local law enforcement, fire departments, district leadership, and site staff, all sites were assessed. Keenan and Associates produced a report of the specific threats to the physical security and personal safety of the school environment and made recommendations to mitigate the threats and improve the overall safety and security of the sites. The report was presented to Cabinet and the board to get support for the site improvements. So we had our list and began planning our projects. One of the items identified was the need for our sites to have a single point of entry. Working with our architects, facilities, and DSA, we installed fencing in front of classrooms that were identified in the assessment. To date, the district has completed single point of entry on 9 of the 10 sites identified, with the final to be completed before this summer. The other component was to improve all entry gates, which had a typical chain link gate with a padlock on the chain, and make our gates self-closing and self-latching. The project was completed working with our contractors. We upgraded and installed over 70 gates district-wide. Another project was the intercom system installation. They were initially installed at all of our childcare buildings as a way to allow parents onto the campus after hours. We have installed intercom systems at all of our sites and at the main entrance, providing another layer of security. So another project was the electronic locking of exterior doors project. This provided many layers of safety. We took every campus and identified all classrooms and exterior doors that lead to students and staff, and added an 8400 lock. These locks can be locked by the site by pressing a lockdown button, or they can be locked remotely here from the district office. Working with the contractor in our IT department, Saugus was the first to integrate a system that is tied to our intrusion alarm. Now, if the lockdown button is pressed, all teachers have a lockdown notification displayed on their interactive flat panels, their phones, and the intercom system. The intrusion system also notifies the sheriff's department, which increases their response time. It also notifies every district administrator and all of the site principals by text and email of the lockdown. With the electronic lock installation, teachers can simply verify their door is properly latched by tugging on the inside of the door handle. No longer do we have to rekey a site if a staff member loses their keys. Deactivating a fob is done instantly. Next slide, please. So another project identified was the perimeter fencing project. We have and are in the process of installing 7-foot no-climb fencing, replacing old rusty chain link fencing that in some cases was 5 or 6 feet tall. The new no-climb fencing is taller and is dipped in a vinyl and constructed with a 1-inch diameter mesh, making it difficult to climb. Another project was to update the exterior lighting. We replaced every single light fixture with LED fixtures. Our exterior lights are in our energy management system programmed to turn on 30 minutes before dusk and stay on 30 minutes after dawn. Not only is the district saving energy through the conversion, but we eliminated all of the manual clocks and the need to adjust the clocks throughout the year. Our program is consistent year-round. We also added solar lighting in parking lots and quad areas where additional lighting was recommended. This evening, our sites are well lit and safer for our students, staff, and community. Our visitor management system, known as Raptor, adds another layer of security by having guests or visitors be verified by scanning their IDs before entering our campus. If you don't belong around our kids, you're not going to be allowed on our campus. Secured vestibules in our front offices are part of our phase 2 single point of entry project. Working with our architects, DSA, and facilities, we are creating another layer of safety for our students and staff. Our standard will be to create a 2 buzz-in system. This means when you first buzz into the office space, you have to then be buzzed onto the campus before you can proceed to your destination. Upgraded security site maps is another project that we will be completed soon. These maps will be used for multiple purposes, including school sites, district departments, maintenance and facilities. The maps will reflect all of the construction changes and are an exact map of the campuses. The fire and sheriff departments will have firsthand knowledge of all buildings and classrooms and can easily identify if a classroom has 1, 2, or more entrances. When we met with the fire and sheriff departments for feedback, their faces lit up. They were excited and said that this is one of the best tools the district can provide to increase the response time. I'm also excited about our upcoming roof identification project. Saugus will be the first in the surrounding area to have buildings and rooms identified on the roof of all of our campuses. The buildings will be identified by building letter or room number. This will give a bird's eye view to local law enforcement so that they can direct officers on the ground accordingly. Thank you for allowing me this time. Next, I will turn it over to Mrs. Katie Dempster, principal at Mountain View.
I just wanted to thank Peter, and I did want to introduce Katie Dempster, who's principal of Mountain View, and with her is the lovely Mrs. Janine Farrell, who is Mountain View Site Council President. And they're going to talk about Site Council's role in the preparation of CSSP. Thank you.
Good evening, governing board and cabinet members and community. I am Katie Dempster. This is Janine Farrell, our president for our site council. At our school sites, we review, discuss, and revise our comprehensive school safety plans annually. We work through these discussions and revisions with our school staff as well as our site council. Site council representatives are elected by their peer groups in our 2-year teams, staggered so that we do not have brand new committee members only every 2 years, not the entire committee. Our schools are constantly trying to broaden the representation, participation, and engagement of our community. So often our site council members are separate from our parent-teacher organization groups. These plans are then adjusted as campus enrollment increases or decreases. If our programs change, such as sites that may begin or have moved our special education programs, and as facilities change. We've all had a lot of wonderful construction opportunities as well. The plans are additionally reviewed by both fire and law enforcement agencies to get their expertise and recommendations as well. Within these plans, different emergency drill procedures are explained and practiced at each site. So for example, we hold our fire drills monthly and our earthquake drills and lockdown drills quarterly. All staff and students participate and practice the procedures during these drills. All staff have specific roles, and we request feedback following the drills to make minor adjustments or put in work orders if needed. These drills help us to reinforce our practices. Also within our CSSP plan, there is a grid made up of 3 goals or environment components that cover positive school climate, safe physical environment, and disaster preparedness. The objectives and action steps are a main focus of review and possible revision with staff and our site council. These portions are also site specific. For example, at Mountain View, we have curb-to-curb bus service for our moderate to severe special day class program. So we have bus safety included in our plan. Mrs. Farrell will share her role as our site council president.
Thank you, board and everyone, for allowing me to be here. I serve as the site council president. Mrs. Dempster will send a safety plan, the safety plan grid in advance of our meeting. At our meeting, we review and we'll compile questions from the document. At the next site council meeting, she reviewed the components of the entire safety plan so we could understand all the elements in the plan itself. We spent most of our time looking at the 3 goals. As we reviewed the goals and the actions, we were able to ask questions or get clarification. Edits and adjustments were made before voting to approve the plan. I would like to add that I appreciate the secured entry to the office and campus. Knowing that only allowed and vetted individuals are allowed onto campus speaks to the school's dedication to student safety. Communication from both the school and district on safety information and policy have been very thorough and transparent. I have received multiple parent square messages from the superintendent and the school. Oh, that's all I have said. I just have appreciated all that we've done, what I've heard, especially since coming back from COVID. As a parent, I really do appreciate all that all of you guys do to make sure that our students are safe.
Ladies. Right, next slide, please. Practice. Practice. This obviously addresses the steps we take to rehearse that for which we have planned and prepared. A fire drill, something we are required to do monthly, is an example of our practice. But it also speaks to the actual application of the idea of safety, to the development of the safety culture. We achieve this through education and training. I'd like to share with you the findings of a report. Next slide, please. While the school has adopted security policies to lock exterior doors and internal classroom doors, there was a regrettable culture of noncompliance by school personnel who frequently propped open and deliberately circumvented locks. At a minimum, school administrators and school policy, I'm sorry, yes, that should be policy. No, I'm sorry, and school police tacitly condoned this behavior as they were aware of these unsafe practices and did not treat them as serious infractions requiring immediate correction. That's a finding from the Texas House of Representatives Investigation Committee on Robb Elementary School, Uvalde, Texas. They had a plan, they had the preparation, they did not have the practice. Next slide, please. We do. Saugus has developed a training program to roll out the CSSP to every staff member, including guest employees, and to our school community at large. Additionally, we've invited comments from the school community by sharing drafts of each site CSSP through Parent Square. This is not a requirement of education code, but it does offer us another opportunity to involve partners in this most critical of topics. Here is the outline of the training schedule. The training will be conducted twice a year at the adoption of the plan, which is now February and March, and at the beginning of each school year. The training will cover every employee, as I said, including guest employees, PTOs, PFOs, PTAs will also be presented with the plan, coffee with the principal, ELAC meetings. It'll be provided to our partners in food services and store transportation. We've begun the training we're in the middle of staff training at this point, and I look for, in fact, we're doing another one tomorrow, so I look forward to continuing that. But this is such an essential component of our CSSP. Next slide, please. Keenan's Safe Schools Training is a training module we use for all employees, including, again, guest employees. I wanted to share with you the variety of training courses our employees are required to take. Safe Schools is yet another layer of training we use to further deepen our safety culture. It is a myriad of topics, from active shooter to cybersecurity, to hazard materials, to integrated pest management, something teachers never thought they would be involved in, yet they are. So, next slide, please. Training of parents and guardians is also critical to us and is included as part of our training program. Parents can look forward to receiving information about our CSSPs at PTA, PTO, PFO meetings, site council meetings. They're obviously the creator of the document, ELAC meetings, and coffee with the principal. Additionally, this past November, this brochure, there's 400 of them at the back. Please help yourself. This brochure was developed as a result of a group of us having attended an active shooter training drill held by and for the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department at Valencia High School. A debrief of Saugus employees in attendance following the drill supported the development of a communication tool shared with their families. The brochure will be handed out at parent conferences this March, as well as being sent out electronically via Parent Square. It will also be housed on our website. And again, 400 of them, please help yourselves. All right. What is this CSSP that we speak of specifically? Next slide, please. Thank you, Nick, who's not reading my mind. I'm thinking you are. Can't you feel the rhythm, Nick? One thing that we address in our plans and of critical importance are our responses to emergencies. Each emergency will be addressed and responded to in one of 4 ways, at least one of 4 ways. Duck, cover, and as Jennifer said, hold on. We would utilize that in the event of an earthquake, a building collapse, or a tornado. May it never happen. An evacuation would be used in the event of a fire or following a duck, cover, and hold on event. A soft lockdown might be used in the instance when law enforcement activity is in the area, not necessarily on campus, or in the event that we have an animal on campus, like the time Bridgeport dealt with a bobcat and 2 babies as school was arriving. So, but we had a plan for that, so we knew what to do. And then a hard lockdown would be utilized in the event of a hostile threat, such as an active shooter. The implementation of the response is dependent upon the particular situation. Specific details as to our soft and hard lockdown procedures are redacted from the plans so as to maintain the tactical integrity of the plan, as discussed by Dr. Stevenson. Next slide, please. Types of emergencies. We are required by education code to plan for every single one of these but one, and I'll address that in a moment. You can see that the list is comprehensive and includes everything from aircraft crashes, bus disasters, loss or failure of utilities, very timely. There is the one emergency for which we have planned, which is not required by education code, and that is student elopement. Having experienced elopement at a site, we felt it would be prudent to include the plan for all sites. This offers a single plan which may be utilized and adapted by each site dependent upon the specifics of the situation. This is now the 2nd year that student elopement has been included in the CSSP. Next slide, please. I wanted to share with you what the planning looks like for one particular event. In this instance, it's earthquake. I know it's small, and I do apologize for that. I'd like to bring Mrs. Dempscher back to talk a little bit about Mountain View's earthquake preparedness.
Really, it's more in general than specific, but we do all hold our earthquake drills quarterly, usually building up throughout the year to a full disaster drill. We also participate in the Great California Shakeout every year at the beginning of the year so that we can test our emergency radios that are hooked up to an antenna so we can communicate directly with our district office in the case of an emergency. We begin our earthquake drills with that drop, cover, and hold on to ensure students and staff know how to remain safe inside the building until the shaking stops. Once it's deemed safe to exit, staff take their emergency backpacks and the students to a centralized location to take attendance. We want to make sure we have the last known location for anyone who might be missing. At that time, we may move to a secondary location where students will remain until they are reunited with family members. Once students move to the secondary location, staff move into their disaster roles, beginning with student supervision. Every staff member has a role from incident commander to search and rescue team, to medical first aid team, to student supervision, to student release, etc. Again, we debrief after each one of these drills to reinforce and adjust our practice. So it's just an important, we want to build that muscle memory for what we do and where we go, so that everyone feels as confident as possible when you're nervous for some kind of disaster that could happen. Thank you.
Thank you again. All right, next slide, please. Is the entire CSSP available to the public for review? As we've discussed earlier, it actually is not. There are three components: armed assault on campus, bomb threats, and tactical response to criminal incidents that are removed from the public version of the CSSP at the recommendation of law enforcement. The rest of it is posted on our website proudly. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to show you where, in fact, you can find it, because I want everyone to read this, to know this, to just soak it in. Every school site, this is Rosedale's, which is wonderful because tonight the theme seems to be Rosedale. And you'll see on the right-hand side, second bar down, comprehensive school safety plan. Next slide, please. It's also in a secondary location under safety and security, under the helpful links. You can find it there. So I want to thank you for allowing me to take the time to discuss the important role of school safety and the comprehensive school safety plans. And please remember, safety is no accident. I threatened to put it on a t-shirt and all righty. I am going to turn it over to Dr. Stevenson for any questions. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Questions, Mrs. Grease?
Hi. Again, I just want to reiterate, a lot of my questions are probably more tactical and not something that we would review here. So I would look forward to having those discussions in closed session. As you know, we look to approve the plans. I think it's important to get a wholehearted, holistic version of what the plans are. Sorry, I wrote my notes on each page, so just bear with me. The intercom entry system that was installed, that has been installed, this was temporary, correct, in the event to then do the vestibule, right?
No.
There wasn't a conversation last year in one of the board meetings that it was sort of looked at as temporary?
No, those are permanent.
Those are permanent. Okay. Do we have the cost of what it was to install those at the 15 sites, or do we? I'm just curious.
I don't know the cost off the top of my head, but we can get that for you.
And then I would ask just this.
No.
So the cost was just under $70,000.
There you go.
And then what's the proposed estimate for the vestibules? Do we know?
We had one vestibule contract on the board, and it's under, I'm not going to give you a wrong answer, but it's under, I think it's 45,000
for one.
for one.
And is the plan to roll that out completely in 2023 or the stagger?
Each site is different.
Yeah.
So they all will vary in
Yep.
cost. So I imagine some will be like West Creek's is pretty straightforward and easy. We're just installing some, what's called storefront, like.
Right.
Some will require some major shifting of offices, which will cost more.
So then is the plan to roll everything out in the fall of 23 or is it staggered through 24? Do we know that yet or no?
I think we work as fast as our architect can draw them and get them through. At the last week's meeting, I showed some of their schematic designs because they're working on the actual
All
design.
those, yep.
Then they still have to go to the Department of State Architect
Yep.
for approval. So with construction, I would hate to tell you they're all going to be done by the fall.
That's okay,
But-
just ballpark.
Yeah, our hope is to just keep moving on them until
So-
they're all done.
Okay. Sorry. Is there anything else besides fire or following a duct cover and hold that would constitute an evacuation? I just heard of those only two instances that would make up an evacuation.
Well, if there was a threat on campus, right, then we would follow law enforcement's guidance as far as evacuation after that.
And would that also pertain to something that maybe sheriffs were not called and it was a I'm going to say secluded or very pinpointed evacuation part of the school rather than an entire school
I
evacuation?
think that would depend on the situation.
Which you can't share.
I don't, it would depend on the individual situation, so I wouldn't know how to share that accurately.
Is that then
Right.
up to the individual school to determine? Is that how that happens?
I guess I'm not understanding exactly what
Who-
you're
Who
asking me.
determines it's an evacuation outside of a fire or a duct cover and hold? Is that the principal that decides based on what is happening? Is that typically what happens?
Yeah, generally.
Okay. And then for soft lockdowns, again, is it up to the individual school to determine what would be a soft lockdown outside of what was communicated today?
Yes.
Okay, so it's up to the individual schools.
Mhm.
And can a soft lockdown again be something that is only targeted to a specific part of the school? Or is the soft lockdown like a hard lockdown an entire school?
The purpose behind a soft lockdown is to prevent outside activities. So it would be for the whole school.
Okay,
It
so it-
usually involves pushing one of the two buttons that we have, the one that doesn't call the sheriff. So
So a
it would be
soft-
the whole school.
So a soft lockdown is the whole school.
If different buildings, depending on, but if you've got like the,
It's. Maybe I can answer it after the meeting.
remember, we're tactical.
Totally, yep. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Love?
Yeah, first I want to say thank you to all the work that went into the presentation and also all the work that has gone into updating the several different things that we went through tonight, specifically the hard tools that we have been able to install and construct and work towards and design. I know that took a lot of hard work and dedication to that. I also want to commend our school sites. In my recent visits at school sites, I know that we shared the quote regarding Uvalde and that heartbreaking situation. At my visits on school sites, it was really very exciting for me to see, I guess you could say, that it seems like compliance is really occurring on our school sites as far as, the doors being locked in each section and all of those things, the buzz-ins, the locked front office, et cetera, the logging in the system when visitors are on school sites. So I appreciate the dedication there from the various site teams. And I also appreciated, we did, well, I didn't, but the team put out all of the draft plans on Parent Square, as it was mentioned earlier. And we did receive some questions and comments from parents through that process, and we were able to review those. And I really appreciated that engagement from the parents that did share the questions and comments that they had regarding the draft plans. So I wanted to thank them for that. For questions, it was mentioned that these plans are reviewed with law enforcement and the fire department. And I was wondering if, I'm not sure who would answer this, but if there were any concerns shared from law enforcement with respect to our plans.
She's going to love sharing this part.
I will address that. And I think that might be a great conversation to have when we have law enforcement come and address the tactical components. So,
sure.
Okay.
They did give us a lot of praise. You can say that.
I can say
that they gave us a lot of praise.
yes. In fact, I should share a conversation I had with Captain Diaz.
I thought that's what you were going to share. So I was like all excited until you said you can't talk about it.
I was speaking with, he and I were on the phone talking about school safety, and I was just having that general, what can you give us? Any ideas? And he's like, well, you could do this. Oh, we have that. And well, have you considered this? I'm like, oh, we have that. And well, you should look at this. Oh, you have that. He was really amazed at what Saugus, the step Saugus has taken. And I was really proud. So
same thing
Saugus.
happened with the fire marshal.
Yes.
Just saying.
That's great to hear. And then we spoke a little bit about how the documents sort of don't get approved and then just stay stagnant and unreviewed for a year. And I was wondering if someone would feel comfortable talking a little bit more about how we make sure throughout the course of the year that we're staying abreast of new procedures or implementations that may be beneficial for the district.
Well, I think that we're all as a district tasked with general awareness. It's part of my job description to attend seminars, webinars. I've found some amazing resources. I'm going to plug one of them. It's an organization called I Love You Guys that was born out of school tragedies. And they're an amazing foundation. The majority of their training is free and available to anybody. And I really encourage you to check it out. I'm a big supporter. So every opportunity. Our Raptor visitor management system does a lot of training, and I don't miss a one. So. And I'm also part of the City of Santa Clarita emergency planning system, the planning group, and we meet quarterly, and that's another amazing resource for our district.
We also work with our insurance folks, and we do a variety of school walkthroughs and assessments. Over the last 5 years, I know Mr. Gayton mentioned the TAPS assessment that we did in 2017, and we begin to implement all of that work in 2018, 19 and forward. So much of what you see implemented has been done in the last 5 years. But since then, I think we've done 2 or 3 additional.
One other
yeah.
TAPS assessment.
TAPS assessment.
Different assessment.
And a different assessment for a different purpose.
Lighting.
A lighting assessment. So we tend to do them as regularly as possible. Oftentimes it is things that happen in the general news that happen across the nation that will prompt us to sit down as a team and have a discussion about how does what we've learned from that particular instance impact what we know. For example, as we were putting in our electronic lock systems, we all in our community experienced the Saugus high shooting. We were finishing that project, and we had the opportunity to hook up with some folks from Florida and New Jersey about how they have the lockdown systems that go directly to the sheriff's department. And because we were implementing that last phase and we got to have those discussions, we added that feature to our system. It is a great feature to have. It's also a scary feature because, you know, when you pull a fire alarm, they come with a hose and some water and great little truck. But when you pull the other one, they come with rifles. So, but it's a really good feature for us to have. And we moved forward with that because of the things that we've learned. So I think what we look at is safety is absolutely number one for all of us. We're always looking at it all of the time. And we're trying to learn from other people and unfortunately from other experiences that people have that are not so positive.
Thank you. I have one more. I apologize if this is incorrect, but I think it was Ms. Carville in her public comment that addressed a section of our school safety plans that talk about students possessing or selling, furnishing firearms. And that there's a portion of the sentence that talks about unless they have prior written permission. And unless someone wants to stand to correct me, I believe that the language that she was referring to is taken verbatim from California Code 48915. But just to address her question, because I think that we should be able to address that. I don't think there is a circumstance that I can think of where giving a student permission to bring a firearm on campus.
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
But I mean, if it's in the statute, it's
Right.
in the law, so that's not something we have the purview to change. But we would still have to approve it, and I don't know that we've ever done that. Did you have, you look like you're gonna jump out of your chair.
No, I was just gonna add, that was an part of the policy updates that I shared. And again, it was just stating the law that, again, if a student has permission, I know that there are clubs, and I think it may be applying to students at older grades or something like Boy Scouts, and they're bringing it for that, you know, hunting knives or
large
something
vicinity
to that
permit.
effect. And they're in some sort of after school.
Oh, yeah, you're right. ROP.
Right. So something of that nature where they're asking permission to bring that on campus, I would say that it's for an elementary school district, to give permission for a student to bring a gun on campus would be
Not be
extremely
something that
rare.
is done.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. I thought that would be the answer. And I do know that that's quoted from the California statutes. I just wanted to address that concern because if I thought we were giving that permission, I would be concerned also. That's all my questions. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Mr. Trunke.
No questions. A great presentation. I know that having been on site council for a number of years ago and working on those, you know, it's important that they get looked at every year, and obviously that does happen and has happened for a long time. And I know as a board throughout the year, there are plenty of other times where we are getting presentations or information related to school safety. So it's with Ms. Grease being a newer board member, this is the first time I think that this particular board is doing something this significant on safety. But this is the normal time of year for us to look at these plans, correct?
Correct, with the implementation of the plan July 1st.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
And this is my first time presenting publicly as well, so we'll do it together, ladies.
And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Thank you all for your presentation. Really appreciate it. This board has reaffirmed that school safety is our #1 priority. And so I appreciate all the hard work and attention that goes into things. It's so difficult to foresee anything and everything that could possibly happen and when and how it's going to happen. It's been expressed by so many people, myself included. We all wish that teachers could go to school to teach and children could go to school to learn. But we live in this world, and there are things that need to be planned for, prepared for, and responded to. I love the continual process of reflection and improvement. I think that's key to getting to the district to the point where we receive these kudos from local law and fire officials, and most importantly, keeping our schools safe. So thank you all for engaging in that constant reflection and improvement. I'm looking at slide 13, the quote about the Texas House of Representatives Investigative Committee on the incident at Robb Elementary School. Absolutely tragic. And it reminded me of a saying that old educators like myself have. A plan written is a plan ignored. Write it, read it, file it on the shelf. What are we doing as a school district to make sure that our plan, as comprehensive as it is, isn't being ignored and that the same thing isn't happening, that we've got these policies and procedures and everything in place, but that it's not in a similar way to what happened in Uvalde, being overlooked, ignored, and thereby compromising the safety of our kids every day?
I think that really goes to my discussion about the planning relative to the culture development, the development of our culture, that every single staff member, student, and parent is tasked with holding each other accountable. I have been at school sites for events completely unrelated to safety, and I have seen an exterior door propped open. That will trigger me. And I hope it triggers everybody in this room. And I ask you all, if you see it, please point it out immediately to an administrator who can then address it with an employee.
And you close it.
I'm sorry?
And you close
After
it.
you close it, correct. Those are, again, learning opportunities, and we need to look at safety. I think of disaster drills, and a perfect disaster drill is a little more than perfect. We're not going to learn anything from a perfect disaster drill. Every opportunity is a learning opportunity. The failure would be if we didn't learn from the situation. So board members, when you're out visiting, because I know you do, if you see propped exterior doors, have at it.
And I think you have experienced as we've gone through and we found those propped doors or those different things for convenience where we will launch into our mini lesson of why. The challenge with this quote, and Barbara and I have talked about this a lot, and she selected this quote, was this was a horrific tragedy. But the real challenge in this tragedy, all the different things that weren't done right, is there's this focus on that a door was left open. Now, it was left open on a day where everybody was using the campus. People were visiting the campus. It was a joyous event, and it brings chills to my soul to think of some of those last photos were of the children at the event, that the reason the door was propped open. So that to me was a major lesson, having lived through Saugus High and been on a school campus during those moments and us looking at all of those things. And so I think whether it's, working with members of the union, working with the extended cabinet, facilities, risk management, the principals, whoever it is, we have those conversations after some of these events and we say, okay, this will not be us. So hearing that, we go through now and we unprop the door and say, you can't have that. And then sometimes we have to have the discussion about, well, but it's our building. And, you have to, the little kindergartners can't get into the cafeteria area without the door being propped open. And so, because they spill their lunch trays, and we understand that, but it doesn't mean the door is propped open all day. It means that when there's somebody there supervising and the kids are in and out, yeah, we might prop the door for that particular moment in time, but the rest of the time it's closed, because we take really seriously the idea of these perimeter layers. So we have the fencing, then we have the doors, then we have the other stopgap pieces to help stop people from getting there. If those pieces aren't used, it is not the tools that are making our school unsafe. It's how we're using those tools. And that comes from reminding people when they're not in the crisis, we have to think about it. So yeah, people get those mini lessons. They don't usually forget. And then the doors stay fixed.
Well, that's good. And thank you all for being part of that reminder process. Because it's true, the inconvenience, the mild inconvenience is every moment, every day. but the unforgettable tragedy is a once in a lifetime thing that it can prevent. Continuing on to slide 14, and I promise I won't go slide by slide, just these two. But looking at slide 14, you've got the training schedule. So is this a training schedule that's for this year only, or is this something that's repetitive each year?
It would be my plan to do this in perpetuity. For as long as we have school safety, we should have a school safety training plan.
Agreed. As an educator myself, I engage in sexual harassment training every year, child abuse reporting training every year. And I think this is if not as important, more important. So,
Well,
yeah,
I think
let's
you,
keep at it.
you saw the Keenan trainings. Those are all online trainings that are required mandated trainings. Mrs. Tapia has graciously put together this series of trainings. And the first was our back to normal sort of thing, where we're going to do some in-person, real live human interaction trainings. And so those are the August, September. And then again, we looked at it one more time since those trainings have occurred and thought, okay, we need to do another layer of this and have those conversations. We know that in the event of a tragedy, people will feel, well, not even a tragedy, just something we haven't encountered in a while. Even those of us that are highly trained and should know better may forget under the stress of that situation. Oh, I don't know where to find a phone number in the middle of the night for the water department or things like that. And we need to practice, right? So we added this layer following some of that.
And the Keenan trainings are fantastic. But there is something special about those in-person trainings where I have the opportunity to engage in feedback. Well, what about this? And this area of our campus is highly unique. You know, those kind of things, and you can go through different scenarios. So those are important. Thank you very much. Thank you. My last question is long-winded again. Matt Watson, have we met? And it's about communication. So here's the question, and then I'll explain kind of what I'm getting at. I want to ask when and how it's determined that we as a district or a school site communicate with families and with this board when an incident occurs. I've spoken with parents recently, and most, if not all, are grateful for our systems of communication. Parent Square is an effective and efficient way of communicating with as select or large of a group as we deem necessary. And I believe that messages are even translated and allow for families to respond, which I think it's just a beautiful system. And I think we would all agree that not everyone needs to be notified when a child scrapes a knee on the yard, speaks out of turn in class. But we as a board do receive notifications when a child breaks his arm on the yard. And families are notified when, for example, local law enforcement just drops by to check in on a campus. Thank you very much for stopping by and making sure everything's cool. So where and how do we make those determinations, given the world that I've referenced that we're living in? And let's remember, it's been mentioned twice already that the Saugus community will now forever be inscribed on a very lamentable and tragic list. Families want to know what's going on at their schools, their child's school. But at the same time, many incidents are isolated to certain locations, grade levels, individual families, making it impossible and unnecessary to communicate with all educational partners. So how do we determine who makes that call, and is there that hard line?
So we communicate with those families or parents that are where their child's directly affected. Right? So it depends on the situation, right? Obviously, if there's an altercation on the playground between a couple of students, we communicate with those students. If there's something in the classroom that affects the entire classroom, we communicate with that classroom, not necessarily the entire school, right? We also, you know, along with safety and notifying people whose children are directly affected, we do also have to be careful to protect the privacy of our students also. The principals generally make the determination of, you know, when to communicate. They do consult with us if there are questions. And then I know that Dr. Hawkins communicates with the board when we do have incidents also. So depending on the incident, for example, if there is a
law enforcement vehicle or emergency vehicle on a campus, we would always the parent community. The challenge with that is we may say there was a sheriff just stopping by, or there was a sheriff's vehicle on campus, but always brings to question more questions. Which is hard because then when you say that's all we can say, that makes it very difficult. But we do by practice communicate that, and I would communicate that to the governing board. When there are instances where weapons are threatened, not just weapons are brought. We haven't had big experiences where weapons are brought to campus, but where something involves a weapon, law enforcement is always contacted and consulted with about those pieces. And our philosophy there has always been, at least as long as I can remember, so for the last 5 years, that we understand that some people might think that a young child can't do damage with a weapon, but we always have believed that that is something that can happen. Unfortunately, school officials, school teachers, school employees, we do not have the ability, even if we do a home visit, to find out or really search out if someone has access to weapons and those sorts of things. It's not our role. So we always consult with law enforcement in those roles, and then we communicate that appropriately with the board. The other things that happen on campus, it really depends, because while we would love for parents to have some of the information, we've also experienced where sometimes too much information gets out about a particular individual student, where negative repercussions happen to that student, even though it may have been an accident, it may have been a step on their part, and it all happens based on a desire to know. So I think you've said it before, I heard others say it, I've heard others say it tonight. We live in a very different time, and it's unfortunate. We are on a very select list of communities who've experienced a school shooting. We have to prepare our students in advance of things like this happening. So while I appreciate the challenge around wanting to know to keep our children safe, I think the important part is talking with our children in advance to help keep our children safe. We are very selective as to how far ranging that goes, not only for the privacy, but also for the frequency of things. You know, you start to get a little, how do you say, calloused to calls of this happening, you know, some sort of thing happening over and over and over again. And so we really want to make sure that we're being appropriate. But I can tell you that no two situations at a school site require the same response. We had one as early as today that we respond differently than we would other things, and they're all circumstantial. It's not something that is real easy to write a list for, a checkoff list, nor would I want individual school staff to do that, because I think that's a lot of pressure on them when they're investigating. They always communicate with at least one, if not multiple, of the 5 of us. Sometimes we reach out and communicate with fellow superintendents about things. Sometimes we will talk with our attorneys about things to make sure that we're following both the privacy and the rights of the students and the families. And so we do that regularly. It may take a few more minutes for us to go through that, but again, safety being the number one important thing. We're not going to do that at the immediate peril of a child. We're going to address that need first. So you might hear of something on Facebook or in a text or on the website or something before I can get it to you, but that's probably because I'm working with the school site staff to keep the staff and the students safe, and I'm gathering the information to be able to tell you, where sometimes it goes out quickly. That's the world that we live in.
We try to get it to you as quickly as possible, but sometimes I can't beat, who's got a cell phone where and how quickly they can text it to somebody else and how quickly that blows up. One of the reasons we purchased Parent Square was because we had a phenomenon still in this district, but it doesn't seem to be a problem for us any longer, which is helicopters, lights, and sirens. It's a Facebook group, which I think is fantastic. But every time something came up on the scanner, the schools would get descended upon by parents, and we couldn't communicate with families fast enough with that sort of system. Once we got Parent Square, we were able to communicate so much faster and so much more efficiently with parents that it really hasn't been an issue that we've experienced. So that's how we approach it.
I appreciate that. And you're right. Each situation is different. As the two of you were sharing, as the three of you were sharing, it did come to mind that, for example, a fight between two students on campus might warrant just those two families being contacted, where something that sounds identical, a fight between two students on campus, may warrant communication to the entire school. And I appreciate that. What I would, I don't know if it's ask or hope, is that the same type of review, analysis, reflection, self-study that goes into the tactical procedural response to issues would also go into the communication of the issue. Who did we decide to communicate to? Why? Would we, could we, should we have done something differently? Why? Those kind of things, because that type of reflection only improves the next.
I'll give you a great example without being too specific. We had a situation that we dealt with this year. It involved a serious nature. It also involved a small select group of students. I think in the end, it turned into much more than that in the community. And unfortunately, the student that was involved, while they had made a mistake, was very much hurt by the notice that went out. However, recently we had an experience where something similar had happened. We were faced with, how do we communicate with that? We reached out, Mrs. Barris and I, to Mr. Coleman. I've worked in a unified school district with a lot of high schools.
Mr. Coleman, the superintendent.
The superintendent of the Hart District. Mrs. Barris has also worked in unified school districts and been a middle school assistant principal. We reached out and talked with Mr. Coleman briefly about our response, how we were going to do it, why we were going to do it. And we erred on the side of not caution for parents who would know, but safety for the kids. We felt that at the time of the decision that we made, that we had to make a more broad announcement to the community, not because of past experience where people said they wanted to know, but because the situation was unpredictable and we didn't have a final resolution that we felt we could make sure that all of the students were safe on. So then we communicated to the entire school community. So I think, we learn from each and every one of the situations that we encounter. And I think we also impart those to other administrators as we learn from other schools. And that's why all principals, whenever they have big incidences like that, they're supposed to contact my office immediately.
I appreciate that. And I understand that it's this delicate dance similar to the idea of church and state, right? Because it's that ebb and flow between where my rights now infringe upon your rights and your rights infringe upon mine. And it's this back and forth. But again, I would encourage that reflection, and I appreciate that. It's a funny thing about communication. The more effectively we do it, the less frequently we need to do it, because when our community is confident that we will let them know when they need to know something, then they are trustworthy of that. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Again, that was a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know it's been mentioned a couple times, but we all live in a community where there was a shooting. I want to acknowledge the MTSS I think that's a really important part of that safety, because as we all know, what happened at Saugus was a student, not an outsider. I appreciate you pushing the culture of vigilance. It's easy to get lazy when nothing's going on, but it's not happening until it's happening, and then it's too late to backstep. So I appreciate that on the part of, all of the administration. Thank you for that. I'm grateful that my daughter had already graduated, but her friends were there, so we will always be that kind of community now. Anyways, so to your point about over communicating, I've gotten more communication as a board member than I ever got as a parent. And I think if I got that much communication as a parent, I would have been freaking out on a daily basis. Probably not necessary. Yeah, it wouldn't have been necessary, but I would have been. But I also, want to reiterate what Dr. Hawkins said about, essentially crying wolf. Like, we don't want people to not take the communication seriously. When they get a communication from the school, it needs to be read. And so I appreciate your judgment in, obviously respecting the privacy of the children, but also knowing when it needs to go out because it needs to be taken seriously. And so we would never want to lose that. Anyways.
I think an important part too that we talked a little bit about was the difference between the soft tools and the hard tools. And so this is just one of many presentations that we've done over the last probably at least 18 months around safety. And I know that staff is preparing for another one to talk not about MTSS, but to talk specifically about the behavioral tools that we use for discipline, because safety isn't just about fences and locks and those sorts of things and emergency procedures. They're also about the day-to-day things that we do at a school to ensure that kids are engaging with school in a positive way, engaging with each other in a positive way, engaging hopefully with the world in a positive way. And when they can't, that they have ways of regulating themselves so that they are doing that appropriately. And when they don't regulate themselves and do that appropriately, we have ways of helping them get through that moment and then address it and restore it in the future. And so I think that's another layer to this, which is really difficult to have the conversation even at 9:15 about all of that. So we're going to be bringing that back again, because it isn't about let's talk about it all and then put it on the shelf. It's about what we do every single day, what we have to learn every single day. I had the opportunity to meet with Mrs. Barker and Mrs. Butterwick, and we talked about some things that we would do and some of the things that we'll look at for workshops around that. I think one of the biggest challenges when we're talking about discipline is the real connectivity between the discipline or the behaviors in school and how we partner with our parent community on that, and how we need their support, because certainly we're not teaching students to say some of the things that they're saying. And I don't believe the home is teaching them to say some of the things that they're saying. Nobody wants to have their child have some of the things that have been said to children by other children. And we need to work on that. It is part of who we are now as a quick-paced, fast, kind of tongue-in-cheek moment kind of society, and we have to help the kids with what to do with that. And so that's another layer of this. And so we were talking about some parent workshops that we're doing, and we're working on that. And we just went through a big PBIS one. Now we've got this new MTSS piece. So it's evolving and will continue to evolve.
Which I appreciate about our district is continual improvement. I also want to, the last questions I have are practical, so obviously I won't ask them, but I want to acknowledge for Mrs. Grease and Ms. Love. It's kind of like you guys are jumping on a moving train because, having been here for 2 years and you for a little more than 2 years, 3 years, right? 2.5. Anyways, like there's a cycle and like the information's coming, like the tactical conversation that will happen. But and we all just take for granted that it's gonna happen, but again, you guys are jumping on a moving train, so.
Can I just add something? So I just want to respond to the comment of, sometimes the communications through parent squares could scare parents. And I don't know if that's a realistic way of maybe interpreting it. I think we use I'm a parent of a student right now in SUSD, and having those notifications are a way to teach my child what is happening, what to do, what not to do. It is a tool that I think parents are using. It is not, I don't think I think more parents are looking at it as a tool and less of a, oh my gosh, this happened. Like, I'm terrified. I don't think it's that. It's about giving parents the resources to have those conversations at home, because those conversations could be different from Miss Love to myself. It could be very different, but if the communication is out there, we are able to have those conversations. And I think that's what I, as a parent, would want, to be able to have a conversation with my child and not to not know about it or to hear about it third party. So to me, it's not about being scared of what's happening. It's preparing myself and prepping myself to have the conversations with my child, because she is 11. She is going to be, going into junior high, which the dynamics are completely different. So I think, again, having those, it's a resource and it's a tool. To me, it's not a scary thing.
So maybe my comment about, because I hear everything from every school, as you do now as a board member. And so that's, I think, where I would, overreact, but something coming from one school, point well taken. You can't talk to your kids about something that you don't know about.
I think what gets really tricky too is when, this is my personal belief, but when some of the policies are not maybe district-wide policies on how to create consistencies in an action plan, I think could lead to maybe fear, or could lead to additional questions that may not need to happen. I know there is a difference between state level mandates and then district level mandates. I know that there is a difference, and I think being able to communicate from a state perspective, this is what has to be in place. And then as a district, this is how we are evolving it. This is how we are accommodating it to the rest of the community. So.
Which I think is what the site councils try to do.
Totally.
But also keeping in mind that we can't list every possibility that could ever possibly happen. And so sometimes we have to rely on the judgment of the administration within the guidelines. Good discussion. We will continue it tactically. That was the last one, right? Okay. All right, we're not voting on that. That was a presentation, so it will be brought back for a vote at the next meeting. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to, do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2022-23, number 46, resolution of the governing board of the Saugus Union School District recognizing and honoring National Women's History Month. Theme for 2023 is celebrating women who tell our stories.
So moved.
Second.
Any comment?
Okay, so we are looking forward to our new month coming up starting tomorrow. But just to give you a little bit of background of some of the things that are evolving within our different months in recognition. We are working at really defining different people to highlight for different grade levels, so that as students move through, they hear or learn about different individuals. So I'll just give you a couple examples. When we're looking at women in history and some of the changes that we're making or how we're adapting that, our 5th grade theme is women in science or STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And our 1st graders will focus on women in sports. Not that they're restricted to only that subject, but that'll be the focus area, so that as they move through TK through 6th grade, they have a more well-rounded experience learning about various women in our history. Examples of some of the women that are highlighted: Sally Ride, Eleanor Roosevelt, Kamala Harris, Susan B. Anthony, and the list goes on to even include some local folks. So we're excited to put this resolution forward and journey into next month.
And we have Mrs. Grease, Ms. Love, and myself making history.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mr. Watson, this is a resolution.
All righty, Ms. Grease. Ms. Love.
Aye.
Mr. Trunky.
Aye.
I vote aye. Ms. Cooper.
Aye.
5-0, it passes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2022-23, number 47, resolution of the governing board of the Saugus Union School District for recognition of Conservation, Bird, and Arbor Day?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay,
Limit.
so within the state of California, March 7th recognizes this day. And it's different than some of the others. Conservation, bird, and arbor is a little bit, and random isn't the word I want to use, but it's just a unique way to describe it. But really, when you think about our community, the conservation that you see within even the district with all of the solar that we have happening and the changes that are going on, that's a continuation of this modern day effort from long ago in our history when they were working at just planting trees and being more green. So we're excited as we move into that era.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Mr. Watson.
All righty, Ms. Grease.
Aye.
Ms. Love.
Aye.
Mr. Trunky.
Aye.
I vote aye. Ms. Cooper.
Aye.
5-0, the resolution passes.
Thank you.
You.
I have a motion to approve the tentative agreement between the CSSP Chapter 112 and the Saugus Union School District for the 2022-23 school year.
So moved.
I'll second it. Dr. Stevenson.
All right, so this is the tentative agreement between CSEA Chapter 112 and Saugus Union School District. There's some language changes such as catastrophic leave, and then it increases, it has a salary increase of 9% on schedule and some increases to our benefits and cash and lieu.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. I have a motion to approve the 2022-23 salary and benefits increases for management, confidential, and unrepresented employees.
So moved.
I will second. Dr. Stevenson.
All right, so this is to increase, basically, this is the same salary and benefits increase for management, confidential and unrepresented employees as the STA and CSEA bargaining units have received. So the 9% and then the benefits up to $900.
Thank you. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is approved. Okay. I have a motion to approve revisions to the Director of Human Resources job description and post to fill.
Move to approve.
I have a second.
Second.
Dr. Stevenson.
All right, since Pete is moving on to greener pastures. No, since he is promoting, we need to hire a new director of human resources, but looking at our job description, there was some minor changes that we need to change. It used to be the director of personnel services. BITSA is no longer BITSA, it's induction. So there are just some minor language changes in there.
Any questions, comments?
Once again, congratulations, and we'll miss you, Pete. And rest in peace, Bitsa. We shall remember.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to approve resolution 2022-23, number 48, resolution of the governing board of the Saugus Union School District to rescind resolution 2017-18, number 48, declaring certain property as surplus and authorizing certain procedures for sale of such property. Mr. Heinlein?
Yes, this is a resolution to rescind an item that was brought before the board 5 years ago when things were a lot different. So at that time, Bouquet Canyon was boarded up. Every window, well, I think there were a couple windows that were not boarded up, but every window was boarded up. It was really in need of a lot of work. And we did not have a purpose for it. We were still in litigation with the neighboring developer. And so we decided to surplus the site. Since that time, we entered into negotiations with the city and never came to an agreement regarding that property. Since then, we have settled the lawsuit with the developer and really found a need for the school site to rehab it and use it for temporary housing. And now we have a new state program, the special ed preschool inclusion program, that will be housed there. So it's time for us to clean up our paperwork from 5 years ago and resend the surplus for the school site so we can continue to use it.
Great. Questions, comment?
I do. So 5 years ago, we didn't need the site. Thought about possibly selling it to the city. City was not interested. Nobody else in
I
town
wouldn't
was.
say the city was not interested.
Okay. All right, but basically it was,
couldn't come to agreement.
wasn't an agreement that we could come to. Nobody in the neighborhood wanted to buy it and build a really cool house there. And now we've got, well, first of all, we're using it to house some of our students from Rosedale. But after that, projecting forward, we're going to be using that as a campus indefinitely, correct?
Correct.
All right. I wanted to make sure that was clear. I've received some questions about it.
Not for a elementary school site, right?
Thank you for the clarification. Could you elaborate a little bit?
Sure, that we possibly might use it for foster for their temporary housing needs. Not 100% sure on that yet. It really depends on the numbers. But the previous kindergarten and CDP area of that school site is getting rehabbed to become this special ed preschool inclusion program.
So we've always had a dream of having an early childhood education program where we take our state preschools, our for-fee preschools, and our special education preschools, and we are able to do inclusion of all of those. And then to partner with College of the Canyons with their early childhood program and offer internships and classes and things on the campus. And so it sort of is a win-win for everybody as we try to develop career ladders up and through our preschool programs so that we have new TK teachers and special ed teachers and all of that. Because a lot of times people start in one area and they progress through. So that's always been sort of a little pipe dream that we've had. And now we have a perfect place to do it.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited about that potential in the future. I'm a huge fan of inclusion wherever it's possible. It's obviously great for our special education students, but it's also a phenomenal benefit, unspeakable benefit for our general education students. So if we can start that as early as possible and continue it as deeply as possible, I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
I had a quick question also, because it just occurred to me. Obviously, there's the Bouquet campus as it exists today, but there's also a much larger piece of adjacent property. This obviously applies to the entirety of that property. If we decided to do something with the vacant land piece, we would have to go through the 7-Eleven process again.
If we were to do that, correct.
What's the 7-Eleven?
7-Eleven means the committee is between 7 and 11 members, and it's just a group of people that really provide the board a recommendation as to if the property should be surplused or not.
Oh. We do not have a motion on the table for this resolution. Do I have a motion?
I appreciate the conversation ahead of time.
So moved.
And second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do we want to talk about it again?
One more time.
Any questions?
Any more questions? Any official questions? Okay. Mr. Watson, it is a resolution.
Oh, it is a resolution. Ms. Grease,
Hi.
Ms. Love,
Hi.
Mr. Trunky.
Aye.
I vote aye. Ms. Cooper.
Aye.
And at 5-0, the resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Gotcha.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the 2021-22 Saugus Union School District Annual Audit Report?
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Hi, good evening.
Oh, I'll second. Yeah, I
Thank
thought you were. Hello.
Hello, Nick.
Hi, Royce. You can see him in the little corner. That's Royce Townsend. He's our partner with Ide Bailey. I have enjoyed working with Royce for quite some time. He really is a leader in school auditing. And he still answers my call when I call him because I do ask him quite a few questions. So thank you for that, Royce.
Not a problem. Pleasure to be here this evening, and I'm here to present to you your audited financial statements. So Nick is going to be my co-host, and that he's going to move the slides for me. So Nick, if you would care to move to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about what is being presented. We're going to report on actually 3 audits in here, although I've only have 2 listed. I apologize for that. But the primary one is the audited financial statements as of June 30th. 2022. Now, you'll see the 3 specific areas that we opine on, and I emphasize that because really the only parts of the audit report that are the auditors is the opinions that we offer on the respective areas that we audit. And in this case, it's financial statements, federal awards, and state compliance and awards. And you'll see that each of those areas have specific topics that we address. Next slide, Nick. In addition, kind of a subset from the financial statements, you have your Measure EE report, which is also we opine on the financial statements. And in addition to that, we opine on performance. And I'll get to that in a moment. Not on the slide is the report for the community facility districts. Next slide, please. I always like to start off with just kind of taking a step back and talking about what an audit is, so that you are clear. The audit is intended to provide reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. And of course, that's in contrast to total assurance. Total assurance would mean that we're looking at every single transaction. I mentioned to you our auditor's opinion. The highest level of assurance that the auditors can provide is what we call an unmodified opinion. So any modification to an opinion is something that you really want to ask about. But in a nutshell, you can look at the opinion as providing you, as a governing board, a level of assurance regarding the information that is being provided by your business management. And that information is critical in making your decisions as a governing board. We'll move to the next slide, please. So there are a number of pages in the reports, and I really think from a governing board standpoint, I like to focus on a couple. The one will be the summary of auditors' results, and that's just a snapshot of what yours looks like. And so, Nick, we'll move to the next slide. So what occurs on the summary of auditors' results is it summarizes the outcome of the audit for those 3 specific areas. So as it relates to the financial statement, we are providing an unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies of internal controls identified. I mentioned no adjustments. There was an adjustment that was made, but that was a post-closing entry. It's a little different. That is when you, as a district, come to us and say, can you make this adjustment? Federal awards, an unmodified opinion as well. We tested 3 major programs, including a number of COVID-19 related programs, material weaknesses and significant deficiencies identified in relation to that testing. And then the next slide, we are talking probably about 30 plus state compliance programs where, as a result of the awards provided, we have to test for specific compliance. As it relates to all of the programs that were pertinent to your district, we are providing you an unmodified opinion for all of those programs. Next slide. I mentioned 2 specific pages that I think are really important in the audit report. The second one is the schedule of financial trends. And why I think this is important is this is the only place in the audit report where historical information is provided. So meaning that you have 3 years of information, including the year that just ended, plus your year that you're currently in, which is the budget year. I do believe trends provide a picture of where you have been and where you're going. And so from an audit standpoint, I always like to make sure that a governing board looks at this page and is cognizant of the important trends. For me, I think it's a plus that you have incurred operating surpluses in all of the past 3 years. However, like many of my clients this year, you are projected to have a deficit in 22-23. The good news is, though, that you are projecting ADA to increase, and as long as ADA continues to increase, that's a huge benefit. With that said, you are spending down your reserves. The other interesting note here is that total long-term obligations have decreased by almost $22 million, and most of that is attributable to the pension obligation declining, and that's as a result of pension contributions having escalated because of the increase in the rates that you have had to pay, as well as the state making significant contributions on your behalf the last few years. Next slide, Nick. Then, excuse me, I will summarize with the measure EE. This again relates to the financial statements and performance, an unmodified opinion as it relates to measure EE. Performance, what performance is talking about is how did you spend the monies? And the important part here is that we tested almost 72% of the expenditures that were in this fund, and we did not find any expenditures that were found to be non-compliant with either Article 13A of the state constitution or the bond measure itself. So we're providing you an unmodified opinion as it relates to performance. Nick, that summarizes my presentation of the audits, and I'm here for any questions that you may have.
This is great.
Personally, I wouldn't even know what to ask. So, I think it's just a lot.
Okay, Ms. Love.
Yes, this question is for Nick. I just, he mentioned that we're spending into our reserves. And it notes in the report on page 85 that the state recommends available reserves of at least 3%. And I was wondering if you could give us an update on what we're looking at for this year. If you know, off the top of your head. I
Off the
apologize.
top of my head, actually, I don't, do you have your? Attached to the AB, the agenda item regarding the increases for management, we have prepared what's called a AB 1200 review. And in that review, it lists our projected reserves at the end of those salary increases. Yeah. I don't want to say the problem. The issue is that all of the other numbers are as of first interim. So at the next board meeting, we'll have second interim. So second interim will take into consideration all of the new salary increases and give us a more accurate projection of where we will end not only this year, but the next 2 years. Only 30 pages long. So this says this year's reserve 11.74, going down to 8.13, and then increasing to 9.55% in that second out year.
So we're well above the state recommendation.
Of the state recommendation, but when we start talking about reserve percentages, we have to remember that reserve is also used as the way that we float our cash, because the state does not pay us all in the beginning of the year, but we have expenses that are very consistent throughout the year. So a 3% reserve means we would definitely have to issue what's called a tax revenue anticipation note or a trans to get extra cash in for operational expenses.
It's basically a loan.
Right. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Okay.
No question. Thank you.
I have a question about slide number 6. The summary of auditors results when it comes to federal awards. Those 2 final bullets indicate material weakness identified and significant deficiency identified. Can you explain or expand on that?
Sure. We tested, as I said, since you were gazing at that page, we tested a number of federal programs, most of them related to ESSER and GEARS, a specific COVID-related program. But it was really the first one that was most problematic. And where that is identified in the audit report per se is page 104, hard copy 104. And that's related to a specific program that is only offered in Los Angeles County. So those monies were passed through. And one of the specific requirements for that program is reporting. And I will tell you that of the programs or the clients that I've had to test this program for, probably 50% of the clients had this as a specific issue. The reporting requirements were very problematic, difficult, I'll just say, and it wasn't uncommon to find the fact that the information that supported the reported numbers wasn't always intact or easy to access. And so that's really why you see a material weakness related to the federal compliance. And then the other finding had to do with the second program that we tested, which is the Title I program. And that really had to do with a payroll system issue and non-compliance related to that, and reviewing time cards and approval by supervisors and department heads. So we found some deficiencies there. They didn't rise to the same level as a material weakness for the previous program. So that was identified as a significant deficiency.
If I can add 2 little caveats. When Royce talks about the timesheet not being approved, I think we have to remember that we have all of our part-time employees' timesheets in frontline, right? So that's how supervisors approve how many hours our hourly employees work. He's not talking about that. He's talking about these specialized timesheets that we do quarterly?
Right.
For those employees where their salary, maybe they're 50% Title I, maybe they're 50% general fund. It's that timesheet that tripped us up this past year.
It's an additional categorical process that accounts for the time the person, not for what they're getting paid, but for the time that they're spending in that particular funding source in the course of their job. So it's adding to that when we're doing it.
The other one was super frustrating because Dr. Stevenson,
No, I know you.
She was in charge of reporting all of the numbers to LACO, right? But LACO wanted to know how many positive results did you get with your COVID tests, right? But don't tell us who they are, right? But our records have the person's name and if they were positive or negative. So she would cover the sheet so that LACO didn't have a record of who was positive or negative. And then we'd scan that to LACO as the backup, right? Well, that's what we saved. Royce is trying to audit how many positives or negatives, but we don't have that data anymore because we covered it up because LACO didn't want it, right? They just wanted the total number. So he's trying to tie it to people when we just had the numbers. The other item is how we were keeping tests, right? So if you had this log of test kits and you said, okay, I gave Mrs. Smith 2 test kits on this date. If the results came back and they were positive, Dr. Stevenson may have already counted those 2 test kits because we already gave them the 2 test kits. But now that we have results, they may have been counted a second time. So it was truly one of those thank goodness this is a one-time grant, right? Moments, because I don't think anyone really thought through the whole process, and then poor Royce, gets an earful from me because I have to tell him, how we were instructed to report, what we were supposed to do, and now he's telling us, hey, I can't verify your data because, you covered it up.
This is why we love Royce, because he does help us out and we try to ask him in advance, but sometimes we get gifted with programs and funds and things that Royce doesn't know how we're going to have to account for them until after we've already been implementing it. And then he has to help us make sure that we're doing it right. So he's fantastic, I think.
That kind of stuff happened during COVID a lot, that here's this thing, do it. We'll tell you later how you're going to be held accountable for doing it. Okay, and then the time card issue, I'm assuming has been rectified. Okay,
It's already fixed, right?
Already fixed.
thank you all for the clarity. I appreciate it.
I don't have any questions. But we still got an unmodified report, so our numbers are still good. Cool. Okay.
Life with two financial people on our board.
I'm the jerk with the questions.
I see unmodified, I'm good. Okay, so we're gonna vote on that, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Yeah, you have
that
to
one
do
is
it.
approved. Now I need a motion to approve the 21-22 Community Facilities District Annual Audit Report.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there anything to discuss on that, or that's all
No, we
included?
put it all in one.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. And finally, we need a motion to approve the 21-22 Building Fund Measure EE Annual Audit Report.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, discussion? Yeah.
I don't know. Does this report have anything to do with any of Mr. Petzel's questions, or I don't know if those have been addressed from when he previously?
It could, right? I mean, because one of the ongoing questions has been staff salary out of EE. Here's the auditor's opinion saying that all of our expenditures are according to 13A and the bond measure. Trying to think of another one.
But have we been able to answer his questions either using this audit report?
Or prior years.
I'm just asking like, because I haven't been, it's just those recent questions that he had. I didn't know if there was a follow-up with him that just wasn't.
Those questions are not recent. So that same question that I just spoke of, I think has been around since 2019.
Okay, I'm just following up to make sure that he feels like he has the resolutions. And if this report will help him not ask, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, we keep giving him the reports, and I think Mr. Petzel, Steve, I hope you're listening. Mr. Petzel does an excellent job of advocating for the community and for the taxpayer on bonds. And every time he talks about them, I hear my dad's voice, who was an avid no bonds ever kind of guy, right? So he continues to ask and we continue to provide that. And that is part of his charm.
Is
as we go
it
through.
a different way of doing it is sitting down with him so he
We
can
have.
literally?
I've
Okay.
done that.
I'm
We've
just
sat
asking 'cause I
down,
haven't
we've
been here and I
presented,
just
yeah.
haven't-
He comes by. on
It's a
occasion.
philosophical discussion. It's the way you think it should be, which is the way this other, group thinks it should
Okay,
be.
he's probably listening, so I'm
Yeah.
hoping that he agrees with what you're saying.
I think.
He
I
may
think
not, but we do respect his role.
I'm
No.
not saying that you're not, I'm just curious if this helps to address them.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Now, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2022-23, number 49, resolution of the governing board of Saugus Union School District declaring an excused absence from a special board meeting for Mrs. Anna Grease.
So moved.
Second.
This is a resolution, Mr. Watson.
Okay, before I call the roll, Royce is gone. I wanted to thank him and thank
Oh,
Nick for your
sorry.
your support.
I also was remiss in saying, Roseanne really was going to be here. She had, I'm not going to say emergency, but a medical issue where she could not be here tonight. But she did want to come because she is very tied to her numbers.
Yes, she is.
So I do want to make sure that you know that she desperately was trying to be here tonight.
Thank you to you and Royce and Roseanne and the whole team.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna call the roll on resolution 2022-23, number 49. Ms. Grease. Oh,
You'll abstain. Yeah.
all right, Ms. Love,
Aye.
Mr. Trunky.
Aye.
I vote aye, Ms. Cooper.
Aye.
And with a vote of 4-0 with one abstention, the motion or the resolution passes.
Okay.
You do this one.
Huh?
You do this one.
Okay. The last one. First of all, is anyone interested? Okay, we have the opportunity to select a nominee to run for the e-board for directors of the LA County School Trustees Association. Mr. Watson is our representative for Laxta. Do you have any comments? Is there anyone?
You need a motion.
Oh, we need a motion to approve a nominee. Do I have a motion? Before we can
You'll have
discuss it.
discussion.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, now we can discuss it.
There you go.
All right. Is anyone interested in being nominated to run for the e-board of Laxta?
I would like to run for the position of director.
Okay. Any discussion?
That's a great idea.
So do I.
Go, Matt.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You are approved. You are nominated.
Thank you. I will fill out my application post haste, maybe tomorrow.
I think you have a great chance.
Well, thanks.
It'd be stupid not to vote for you.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, our next meeting is March 14th. And we are, oh, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 9:54.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Can we pass that down to Ms. Green?